ADBN, Advocate Broadcasting Network.
Hello, good morning, and welcome to ADBN Television's flagship program, Morning Express. My name is Beto O'Brien. On the program this morning, we'll begin with our first major news bulletin this morning. And making the news is the story that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has led top government officials to honor fallen and serving members of the Nigerian Armed Forces at the 2026 Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day ceremony in Abuja. The annual event pays tribute to soldiers who made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of the nation. ADBN correspondent completes the report.
The solemn ceremony held at the National Cenotaph in Abuja marked this year's Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day, observed annually on January 15. Proceedings began with the submission of the State Parade, followed by the inspection of the Guard of Honor by Vice President Kashim Shettima, who represented President Bola Tinubu. He was accompanied by the Commander, Guards Brigade, Brigadier General Adebisi Onasanya. The event featured interdenominational prayers for both the living and the departed members of the armed forces, reflecting Nigeria's religious diversity and unity. Following the prayers, a minute of silence was observed in honor of the fallen heroes. The wreath-laying ceremony then commenced at the tomb of the unknown soldiers, beginning with the Vice President Shettima, who laid the first wreath on behalf of the President and the federal government. Next to lay wreaths were the President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, and the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Benjamin Kalu. Following them, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekere Ekun, led her wreath, immediately succeeded by the Minister of Defense, General Christopher Musa, retired, and the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, Abbas Salahidin, High Commissioner of the Republic of Cameroon. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Olufemi Oluyede, led the service chiefs alongside the Inspector General of Police to lay wreaths at the cenotaph. Three volleys were fired by the firing party, after which the Vice President signed the anniversary register and released pigeons symbolizing peace and remembrance. Observed annually on January 15, the Armed Forces Remembrance Day honors Nigeria's fallen and serving military personnel. Awesome Raffle, ADBN News.
In Adamawa, Governor Amadu Umar Fintiri led the wreath laying on the tomb of unknown soldiers in honor of fallen heroes of the Nigerian Armed Forces. Correspondent Rafiu Olaoye reports that the ceremony held at the Momodu Rabadu Square, Jamaica, and commenced with the inspection of guards by the Governor Amadu Umar Fintiri. This followed with the laying of wreath by the governor, who was represented by his deputy, Professor Kaletepawa Furatu. Dignitaries including Speaker Adamawa State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Bintheya Wesley, service commanders, State Chief Judge, amongst others, joined the governor in the wreath laying. Prayers were offered for the fallen heroes, even as pigeons were released signifying peace, prosperity, and success. Addressing newsmen shortly after the event, Governor Fintiri emphasized that the day is set aside to remember and honor the sacrifices, bravery, and gallantry of the fallen heroes of the armed forces, their families, ex-service, as well as serving men and women. He commended the armed forces for their continuous efforts and sacrifice to secure the state, country, and its borders, assuring them of government's continued support.
We want to thank them for the supreme sacrifice they make daily to ensure that we all go to bed and sleep with our eyes closed. They are the ones in charge of our borders from all angles. We want to thank them. We want to ask them to keep doing this because most likely it's not something we can pay them humanly, but God will see them and God will keep protecting them.
His death was very painful thing that I will never forget in life. They have a lot to do for us and they did not do it. We are supposed to be given 1/3 of our husband's salary. To be sincere, no one has taken, they've never wanted giving us 1 naira out of the 1/3 of our husband's salary, and at the same time, the one third and 2/3 of the orphans, none have been given to us, and we are crying for that.
Medical outreaches were also conducted as part of activities marking the 2026 Armed Forces Remembrance Day. In Kebbi State, Governor Nasser Idris Ganduan reaffirmed his administration's unwavering commitment to improving welfare of serving and retired members of the armed forces as well as families of fallen heroes. Governor Idris made this known during the 2026 Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration held at the Haliru Abdu Stadium in Birnin Kebbi. As part of the ceremony, the governor laid wreath in honor of fallen heroes who sacrificed their lives for the peace, unity, and stability of Nigeria. Addressing the gathering, Governor Idris described the occasion as a moment of reflection, gratitude, and national appreciation for the courage and selflessness of members of the armed forces. He expressed deep sympathy to the families of fallen heroes, assuring them that their loved ones do not die in vain, as he emphasized that the government and people of Kebbi State will continue to support them through sustained welfare programs. He assured veterans of their inclusion in the state's development agenda, while saluting serving officers and personnel for their professionalism, courage, and dedication to national service. The governor also urged Nigerians to uphold peace, justice, and unity so that the sacrifices of the fallen heroes would continue to yield a stronger and more united nation. In Sokoto, the government has approved the establishment of a forward operations base in Isa local government area to further strengthen security and complement existing security formations in the zone. Governor Ahmed Aliu announced this shortly after the closing ceremony of the 2026 Nigerian Armed Force Celebration and Remembrance Day, held at the Megoro Open Theatre, Sokoto. The governor explained that the new forward operation base would enhance surveillance, improve response time, and reinforce ongoing efforts to safeguard lives and property across the state. Addressing security concerns, Governor Aliu dismissed as false a viral video circulating on social media which alleged that bandits had chased residents out of Tibadele village in Isa local government area. He clarified that while the individuals seen in the footage were indeed residents of Tidebale village, they were not displaced by bandits, stating that Isa local government council authority had temporarily conveyed the residents following rumors of planned bandit attack on the community as a preventive measure. The governor therefore called on the public to disregard the rumor and warned against the spread of unverified information, especially on security-related matters, stressing that such reports often create panic and undermine security efforts. He also pledged continued support for the welfare of officers and men of the Nigerian Army, as well as the families of fallen heroes in recognition of their sacrifices to the state and the nation. As Nigeria marks Armed Forces Remembrance Day 2026, Kaduna State joined the rest of the country in honoring the bravery and sacrifice of men and women who paid the ultimate price in defense of the nation. Beyond the ceremonies, widows and families of fallen soldiers used the occasion to renew calls on the federal government to provide sustained support for orphans and dependents of deceased military personnel. They made the appeal during the wreath laying ceremony as flags floated in tributes to fallen heroes. But behind the pageantry, many widows say they continue to face daily struggles, meeting basic needs. A widow, Lanre Lowell, shared her experience describing the difficulty of raising children alone. While trying to keep them in school, she called for scholarships, healthcare support, and structured social programs for affected families.
Is when we have good job, we're able to take care of the fallen heroes' children. So we are pleading to the federal government, we are pleading to the defense, we need help. Widows are dying. We need security.
Other widows echoed similar concerns, lamenting how their children's education often suffers after the loss of their breadwinners. They stressed that honoring fallen soldiers must include securing the future of their families.
We are pleading to Nigeria to have out of mercy to look us, to pay us that one thought is going to help us. So for many widows, our children that suffer, there's no admission, no work, not even apply for army or any force. So far we don't have anybody to help us. So that is to drop our children. Most of our widows now that have BP because of challenge one thing of another.
Anyone that said it's easy is never an easy task, because you having a husband at a long last, you wake up in a day and you will see there he's no more alive. The children are there. You have to cater for them, food, their shelter, the school, their welfare is really a challenge. But
a retired military veteran also urged authorities to strengthen welfare programs for ex-servicemen and their bereaved families, while commending the Kaduna State government for its ongoing support.
We didn't sacrifice a lot. Even though I didn't tell you, you have to know where we're going to. We have served for many years. We served some countries. We went on war, several war. That is, but God keep us alive today. We thank God for that. We are army of yesterday and today also. We are not retired. We are not retired. We are still in active service because we are reserve legions. They are not retired yet.
Kaduna observes the Armed Forces Remembrance Day 2026. The message from widows and veterans is clear. Remembrance must go beyond ceremonies. Concrete support for widows and orphans is key to truly honoring the nation's fallen heroes. Benue State Governor Hyacinth Alia joined heads of military and security formations in the state to lay wreaths at the tomb of unknown soldier at IBB Square, Makurdi, marking the climax of activities for the 2026 Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day. The solemn ceremony, held in honor of fallen heroes who paid the supreme price in the defense of the nation's sovereignty, was observed under the theme of valor, sacrifice, and unity. Governor Alia, while delivering his address, described the venue as a sacred ground, noting that the occasion was more than a ceremonial ritual, but a profound statement of collective remembrance. He emphasized that while the wreath laying marked the official close of the 2026 Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day, the responsibility of remembrance must continue in conscience of the people, public policies, and daily choices. The governor called on the people of Benue to embrace unity, stressing that fallen heroes came from diverse backgrounds, faith, and communities, but stood as one in service to the nation, urging citizens to reject division, choose dialogue over violence, and place collective interest above narrow considerations. In the same vein, Nasarawa State joined the rest of the country, to honor fallen heroes who paid the supreme price in defense of Nigeria. The Armed Forces Remembrance Day ceremony held at the Government House Lafia featured the traditional rain of wreaths in honor of departed gallant officers and men. Our Nasarawa State correspondent, Mary Ojiji, has more.
The solemn notes of the last post floated through the government house in Lafayette as wreaths were laid in quiet honor at the cenotaph. Each wreath a silent tribute to courage, sacrifice, and lives that ended so the nation could endure. Governor Abdullahi Sule stood still alongside security chiefs, government officials, and members of the Nigerian Legion, paying tribute to those who gave their all so others could live in peace. For the governor, the ceremony goes beyond tradition. It is a message to both the living and the fallen.
We're here to pay respect to those who lost their lives in the process of protecting our nation and protecting every one of us. So it is very important that we continue to pay respect to those who lost their lives. In fact, that will encourage those who are still alive and protecting this nation, especially at a time like this.
January 15, he said, must never become just another date on the calendar, but a reminder of the price of peace. Governor Sule noted that this year, Nasarawa State stepped up its support to the Nigerian Legion, recognizing their continued relevance in securing communities.
This year, we contributed more than we ever contributed to the Legion. I continue to encourage all our MDAs and all the good people of Nasarawa State to continue to support them because they are still active and they can be engaged in one form of security or the other.
For the Nigerian Legion, the ceremony is deeply personal. It is about fallen colleagues, but also about survival, service, and dignity.
We thank the Excellency, Engineer A. Sule, for his support to the Legion in Nasarawa State. They have been doing good for us. All the necessity we're asking, he did for us. The retirement, we are all Hajai. We are looking for anybody that need for our assistance. We can easily render it for him.
Among the quiet observers were widows of fallen heroes, women whose lives were changed in an instant by tragic news and a folded flag. They thanked the government for its support, but appealed for more opportunities, especially jobs for their children.
And we thank God for the government to remember our husband. May God help us, help government to help us for our children work, for everything they can assist us.
As the ceremony ended, the crowd slowly dispersed. One message lingered in the air. The fallen are gone, but they are not forgotten. And for those still standing guard over the nation, their sacrifice is seen, remembered, and honored. Mary Ojiji, ADBN News.
Delta State has joined the rest of the nation in commemorating the 2026 Armed Forces Remembrance Day, honoring the gallant men and women of the Nigerian Armed Forces who paid the supreme price in defense of the nation. At the cenotaph in Asaba, the Delta State capital, Governor Right Honorable Sheriff Oberewari, alongside his deputy Sam Monde Oyeme, the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Emomotimi Gowo, the Secretary to the State Government, Dr. Kingsley Ezemu, Security Chiefs, and the Chairman, Delta State Traditional Rulers Council, the State Chairman of the Nigerian Legion, and a representative of Widows of Fallen Heroes participated in solemn wreath-laying ceremony. The Governor led other dignitaries in laying wreaths at the foot of the unknown soldier, symbolizing the state's deep appreciation for the sacrifices of officers and men who laid down their lives in the service to Nigeria. The ceremony, observed without speeches, featured full military honors, a minute of silence, and the symbolic laying of wreaths, underscoring the solemnity of the occasion. As representatives of veterans organizations looked on.
Very solemn occasion, remembering our fallen heroes who fought gallantly to ensure global peace and unity of our great nation, Nigeria.
ADBN state correspondent Charles Kosipere reports that the Armed Forces Remembrance Day remains a poignant reminder of the courage, patriotism, and selfless service of Nigeria's fallen heroes whose sacrifices continue to inspire national unity, peace, and stability. As Nigerians reflect on the sacrifices of the Nigerian military and the challenges facing the families of fallen heroes, Akwa Ibom State Government has announced plans to provide 150 lock-up shops for widows of these heroes. Governor Umoeno made the announcement during the wreath-laying ceremony to mark the 2026 Armed Forces Remembrance Day in Uyo, where he said the facilities will come with business grants for the widows. ADBN correspondent Mary Onyemichi completes the report.
It is a yearly recognition of sacrifices of the men and women who laid down their lives for the peace of Nigeria. And the 2026 celebration is coming at a time when the Nigerian Armed Forces are recording breakthroughs in the fight against banditry. Governor Umoeno announced support to members of the Nigerian Legion and wives of the fallen heroes, including 100 lock-up shops for widows of the military, 50 for widows of the police force, and
lay the wreath to honor their service and ultimate sacrifice. Let us pay a moment of thought to the widows and children they left behind. Have we done enough to help them numb the wounds of the loss of their breadwinners? Have we paused to wonder how the children who were used to waking up to see their fathers either drop them at school or give them a kiss as they hurried off to school are the factors that led to the various theaters of operation which resulted in the deaths of these gallant officers and men addressed? These are the key questions we should ponder as we mark this yearly event.
Governor Eno called for interreligious tolerance in the country, insisting that Nigerians should show respect to the nation's servicemen, as this will encourage them to do more work in the protection of lives and properties.
A nation under one God, and the means and approach with which we worship our God should not be the instrument of division and intolerance. We as leaders should lower divisive rhetoric while emphasizing the strengths in our diversity, especially as the political seasons dawn on us. Here in Akwa Ibom State, we'll continue to celebrate the peace we have been enjoying. How many times do we abuse these officers and men? How many times do we cast aspersion on them? How many times do we throw jabs at them, not understanding the onerous responsibility, including the ultimate sacrifice that they can pay in the service of their fatherland? These are thoughts that all of us as Nigerians must begin to show respect to those who have passed, and even so to those who are still alive.
The governor once again reaffirmed his administration's commitment to improving and prioritizing their standard of living through welfare packages, government programs, and projects.
I thank you deeply and profoundly for the robust collaboration we have been enjoying from you. We'll continue to deepen this cooperation as peace and security remain the catalyst for growth and development. We hope very soon to commission and operationalize our command and control center, as well as continue to provide amenities across service sector that will help the security agencies perform their tasks seamlessly. Last year, we commissioned the internal roads at the police headquarters in Ikorak, Panambia, and we remain dedicated to doing more across the service sectors.
The symbolic laying of wreaths at the tomb of the unknown soldiers, 21 gun salutes, and release of pigeons were major ways the fallen heroes were honored at the ceremony. Mary Onyemechi, ADBN News.
In other reports, Inspector General of Police IGP Kayode Egbetokun has reaffirmed the commitment of the Nigerian police force to deepen interagency collaboration aimed at enhancing national security, economic stability and investor confidence in Nigeria's financial system. Speaking in Abuja while receiving the management of the Securities and Exchange Commission, the IGP commended the Commission for its trust in the police and assured of continued partnership and cooperation.
I want to congratulate you on your recent milestone of attaining 100 trillion naira in this capital market. That's a very big one. And on behalf of the Nigerian Police Force, I congratulate you on this milestone achievement. I'm happy to also hear from you that you are ready to strengthen the police enforcement unit that is attached to the Security and Exchange Commission. What you said speaks so much to your determination to ensure effective drives in the capital market. And when we're able to achieve effective enforcement, it comes with so much benefits. The benefits are numerous. It will increase investor confidence. It will stabilize the market. It will bring about a compliance culture. It will protect the investors. And in the long run, it will help in the economic growth of our country. I want to assure you that the Nigerian Police Force is ready to deepen its collaboration with you. We will strengthen our partnership and support you in all ways we can to ensure that you achieve your aims.
In his remarks, the Director General of the Commission, Mr. Emomotimi Agama, praised the Nigerian Police Force for its consistent efforts in maintaining law and order and for its support in the Commission's regulatory and enforcement duties.
We propose a robust institutionalized collaboration with the following pillars: Joint Intelligence and Operations Task Force. We must say here that currently the Nigerian police is gracious to provide us with a unit of the police force at the SEC, and we are so grateful. And that experience has been with us for over 10 years. And we believe strongly that with this visit, we are going to strengthen that unit in order to make it more effective while taking advantage of the large resource of the police nationwide. So establishment of a dedicated SEC MPF team that combines our market intelligence, forensic accounting, and understanding of complex financial schemes with your investigative and intelligence gathering capabilities. This team will actually be the rapid response unit to our new scams.
The meeting ended with both organizations reaffirming their shared commitment to stronger collaboration, information sharing, and joint actions designed to safeguard Nigeria's financial system and promote a secure and sustainable environment for economic growth. Ahead of the FCT local council elections, African Democratic Congress has received a group of professionals from the Labour Party into their fold. ADC-FCT Chairman Chief Clement Ehigiato, who received the group led by Engineer Daniel Gambo, urged them to put the interest of Nigeria and the party ahead of personal interests.
As ADC, the only opposition now to the ruling power, the bride of the political scale, I think that is why every other political party today are coming to ADC because we have what it takes to build the leaders that Nigeria has been yearning for. So I want to welcome us and believing as we are coming to work and the interest of Nigeria and the party before individual interest, because I always often hear people say politics is interest.
Responding, the national chairman of the CSF, Engineer Daniel Gambo, said the movement became necessary to occupy the block reserved for the Labour Party in the coalition, citing the present division in the Labour Party, which he said would hinder them from furthering the objective of good governance.
Labour Party today is a shadow of itself with more than 3 factions. And because we have an aspiration towards good governance, we did not see that aberration as a place where we can exhibit that quality that we are yearning for to correct Nigeria. We are happy when ADC came on through the coalition platform, bringing other political parties, of which Labour Party is a bloc.
I am happy about the different people coming into the ADC, but I'm not distracted. My concern is about the residents of Amak. It's about the artisan, the elderly people who are here. It's about those in the civil service. It's about the students, the young people, those who are perishing and wallowing in poverty and in penury.
Meanwhile, in Edo State, media entrepreneur and political commentator Chief Dele Momodu formally joined the ADC in a similar development. Our correspondent, Favor Osazua, has details.
My mission in politics is to join hands of fellowship with citizens of like minds to rescue, recover, and reset Nigeria.
I am glad you are even from Edo State. So in the next few months, we are going to be standing shoulder to shoulder all over the state.
Some leaders of ex-militants in the Niger Delta region have commended the federal government for earmarking 115 billion naira for proper reintegration of ex-militants in the Niger Delta region. Speaking to ADBN TV in Yenogwa, Pastor Reuben Wilson, popularly known as the People's General, and General Patrick Tebega, noted that the figure captured in the 2026 budget proposal, if judiciously used, would go a long way for the rehabilitation and reintegration of repentant ex-agitators. The Presidential Amnesty Program is an initiative designed by the federal government for disarmament, rehabilitation, and reintegration of warlords in the oil-rich region. The allocation captured as an ongoing project is provided for under the service-wide vote, a unit domiciled in the Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning. The funds from part of the 9.1 trillion naira budget, 59.1 trillion naira budget, designed by the Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning for the 2026 Appropriation Bill. You're watching ADBN News at 7. Stay with us for more news reports on the foreign and sports scenes after the break.
Welcome to FCT in Focus, your window to the vibrant heartbeat of Nigeria's capital. We dive deep into the core of the FCT, exploring how key policies and decisions shape lives across the city. From exclusive insights into the FCT administration to voices from the streets, we bring you stories that matter. Catch FCT in Focus every Saturday and Sunday at noon. Tune in for the latest stories directly from the nation's hearts.
Well, thanks for staying with us on ADBN News at 7. And now to news on the foreign scene. Polls have closed in Uganda after a tense and chaotic election marked by an internet blockout, technical failures and long voting delays as President Yoweri Museveni seeks to extend his nearly 40 years in power. Museveni, who has ruled since 1986, is widely expected to secure a 7th term, backed by firm control of state institutions and the security forces. Official results are expected within 48 hours. Opposition candidate Bobby Wine, a singer-turned politician, alleged widespread irregularities, accusing the government of ballot stuffing and arrest of his party officials on the cover of the internet shutdown. Voting was delayed in many areas due to malfunctioning biometric machines and late arrivals of material. Despite the tensions, observers reported no major violence, though security presence was heavy nationwide. Right groups have condemned the clampdown on opposition activity and civil society, while the United Nations described the internet blockout as deeply worrying. And now to news from the sports desk. The final draw for this year's Women's African Cup of Nations is taking place in Rabat, Morocco, setting up a series of highly anticipated group stage clashes. For the first time in the tournament's history, 16 teams will compete at the Women's AFCON, scheduled to kick off in March. Hosts Morocco, drawn in Port 1, were automatically placed in Group A, while defending champions Nigeria head Group C. According to the Confederation of African Football (CAF), the top 2 teams from each group will advance to the knockout stage, including the quarterfinals, semifinals, third-place playoff, and finals. The FIFA Women's World Cup Brazil 2027 qualifying playoffs. The groups are Group A, Morocco, Algeria, Senegal, Kenya. Group B, South Africa, Ivory Coast, Burkina Faso, Tanzania. Group C, Nigeria, Zambia, Egypt, Malawi. Group D, Ghana, Cameroon, Mali, and Cape Verde. Still in sports, holders Barcelona came through a difficult test at Racing Santander to reach the quarterfinals of the Copa del Rey with a 2-0 victory. Real Madrid had been knocked out by second division Albacete on Wednesday night in Alvaro Arbeloa's first match in charge since replacing Xavi Alonso as manager. La Liga leaders Barcelona also found progress tough against their second-tier opponents, with the breakthrough not arriving until the second half when Ferran Torres ran through to open the scoring. Lamine Yamal then sealed the win in stoppage time, converting a cross from Rafinha at the far post. Hansi Flick's Barcelona won last season's cup final in style against rivals Real Madrid and will discover their opponents in the last 8 when the draws are made on Monday. That's it on ADBN TV News this morning. Remember to watch us live on DSTV channel 258, on Star Times channel 140, Avo TV app, Limex World TV app, and Niger TV app. For more stories, visit our website on www.adbntv.com. You can also watch us live from every part of the world by logging on to www.adbntv.com/live. I am Beto Bryan, thanking you for watching. The rest of the Morning Express show continues after the break. Stay with us.
For your news on the go, ADBN is everywhere you are. Stay connected with us across all our social media and streaming platforms for exclusive news updates, captivating stories, and more. Join the ADBN community today via our various platforms. An Avo TV app, ADBN Channel 121, Niger TV app, ADBN TV, Limex World TV app. To get the latest news straight to your phone, join our WhatsApp TV channel. Just search for ADBN TV and hit the follow button. Turn on your notification to stay updated and never miss any part of the experience. Stay in the conversation with us across social media handles. On X at ADBN TV, Instagram at ADBN TV, Facebook ADBN TV, YouTube ADBN TV. Keep visiting our website on www.adbntv.com. Watch us live anytime, anywhere. ADBN TV, a part of you.
Welcome to the Niger Delta, a region of incredible beauty and stark contrast. From its breathtaking landscapes to its rich cultural heritage, this is a place where history and modernity collide. But beneath this serene surface lies a story of struggle and resilience. The Niger Delta is the lifeblood of Nigeria's economy, home to vast oil reserves that fuel the nation, yet it is a land where the people fight for their share of the wealth. Join us on the program Niger Delta Today as we explore the heart of the Niger Delta, discover the vibrant cultures, the struggles for environmental justice, and the stories of the people who call this place home. This is the Niger Delta, a land of contrast, a story of resilience, a journey of hope. Don't miss our exclusive series, Niger Delta Today, every day at 12 noon, only on ADBN TV. Witness the untold stories, experience the journey, be part of the change.
The global business is never static. Watch the market report on ADBN TV for business information, latest happening, business deals, government economic policies, stock, crude oil and commodity trading, financial upstick and downstick, and the world of organized private sector. The market report showing on ADBN TV 1 to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday. The market report bringing you up to speed in the business world.
The solemn ceremony held at the National Cenotaph in Abuja marked this year's Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day, observed annually on January 15. Proceedings began with the submission of the state parade, followed by the inspection of the Guard of Honor by Vice President Kashim Shettima, who represented President Bola Tinubu. He was accompanied by the Commander, Guards Brigade, Brigadier General Adebisi Onasayan. The event featured interdenominational prayers for both the living and the departed members of the armed forces, reflecting Nigeria's religious diversity and unity. Following the prayers, a minute of silence was observed in honor of the fallen heroes. The wreath-laying ceremony then commenced at the tomb of the unknown soldiers, beginning with the Vice President Shettima, who laid the first wreath on behalf of the President and the federal government. Next to lay wreaths were the President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, and the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Benjamin Kalu. Following them, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekere Ekun, led her wreath, immediately succeeded by the Minister of Defense, General Christopher Musa, retired, and the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, Abbas Salahidin, High Commissioner of the Republic of Cameroon. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Olufemi Oluyede, led the service chiefs alongside the Inspector General of Police to lay wreaths at the cenotaph. Three volleys were fired by the firing party, after which the Vice President signed the anniversary register and released pigeons symbolizing peace and remembrance. Observed annually on January 15, the Armed Forces Remembrance Day honors Nigeria's fallen and serving military personnel. Awesome Ruffle, ADBN News.
The solemn notes of the last post floated through the government house in Lafayette as wreaths were laid in quiet honor at the cenotaph. Each wreath a silent tribute to courage, sacrifice, and lives that ended so the nation could endure. Governor Abdullahi Sule stood still alongside security chiefs, government officials, and members of the Nigerian Legion, paying tribute to those who gave their all so others could live in peace. For the governor, the ceremony goes beyond tradition. It is a message to both the living and the fallen.
We are here to pay respect to those who lost their lives in the process of protecting our nation and protecting every one of us. So it is very important that we continue to pay respect to those who lost their lives. In fact, that will encourage those who are still alive and protecting this nation, especially at a time like this.
January 15, he said, must never become just another date on the calendar, but a reminder of the price of peace. Governor Sule noted that this year, Nasarawa State stepped up its support to the Nigerian Legion, recognizing their continued relevance in securing communities.
This year, we contributed more than we ever contributed to the Legion. I continue to encourage all our MDAs and all the good people of Nasarawa State to continue to support them because they are still active and they can be engaged in one form of security or the other.
For the Nigerian Legion, the ceremony is deeply personal. It is about fallen colleagues, but also about survival, service, and dignity.
We thank the Excellency, Engineer A. Sule, for his support to the Legion in Nasarawa State. They have been doing good for us. All the necessity we're asking, he did for us. The retirement, we are all Hajai. We are looking for anybody that needs for our assistance. We can easily render it for him.
Among the quiet observers were widows of fallen heroes, women whose lives were changed in an instant by tragic news and a folded flag. They thanked the government for its support, but appealed for more opportunities, especially jobs for their children.
And we thank God for the government to remember our husband. May God help us, help government to help us for our children work, for everything they can assist us.
As the ceremony ended, the crowd slowly dispersed. One message lingered in the air. The fallen are gone, but they are not forgotten. And for those still standing guard over the nation, their sacrifice is seen, remembered, and honored. Mary.
It is a yearly recognition of sacrifices of the men and women who laid down their lives for the peace of Nigeria. And the 2026 celebration is coming at a time when the Nigerian armed forces are recording breakthroughs in the fight against banditry. Governor Umar Eno announced support to members of the Nigerian Legion and wives of the fallen heroes, including 100 lockup shops for widows of the military, 50 for widows of the police force and other paramilitary, which comes with business grants.
As we gather here today and lay the wreath to honor their service and ultimate sacrifice, let us pay a moment of thought to the widows and children they left behind. Have we done enough to help them numb the wounds of the loss of their breadwinners? Have we paused to wonder how the children who were used to waking up to see their fathers either drop them at school or give them a kiss as they hurried off to school feel? Are the factors that led to the various theaters of operation which resulted in the deaths of these gallant officers and men addressed? These are the key questions we should ponder as we mark this yearly event.
Governor Reno called for interreligious tolerance in the country, insisting that Nigerians should show respect to the nation's servicemen, as this will encourage them to do more work in the protection of lives and properties.
Nation under one God, and the means and approach with which we worship our God should not be the instrument of division and intolerance. We as leaders should lower divisive rhetoric while emphasizing the strengths in our diversity, especially as the political seasons dawn on us. Here in Akwa Ibom State, we'll continue to celebrate the peace we have been enjoying. How many times do we abuse these officers and men? How many times do we cast aspersion on them? How many times do we throw jabs at them? Not understanding the onerous responsibility, including the ultimate sacrifice that they can pay in the service of their fatherland. These are thoughts that all of us as Nigerians must begin to show respect to those who have passed, and even so to those who are still alive.
The governor once again reaffirmed his administration's commitment to improving and prioritizing their standard of living through welfare packages, government programs, and projects.
I thank you deeply and profoundly for the robust collaboration we have been enjoying from you. We'll continue to deepen this cooperation as peace and security remain the catalyst for growth and development. We hope very soon to commission and operationalize our command and control center, as well as continue to provide amenities across service sector that will help the security agencies perform their tasks seamlessly. Last year, we commissioned the internal roads at the police headquarters in Ikorakwanambia, and we remain dedicated to doing more across the service sectors.
The symbolic laying of wreaths at the tomb of the unknown soldiers, 21 gun salutes, and release of pigeons were major ways the fallen heroes were honored at the ceremony. Mary Onyemechi, ADBN.
Well, those were reports from different sections of the country on the celebration of the Armed Forces Remembrance Day yesterday, 15th January 2026. Good morning, Nigeria. My name is Chijioke Okafu, and welcome to Morning Express, ADBN's flagship program. I'm not alone. With me in the studio this morning is Francisca Oga, who will be taking this ride with me. Very good morning to you, Francisca.
Good morning, Chijioke. Good morning, Nigerians.
And welcome on the show as well.
Thank you.
Well, without much ado, let's head right into it. Newspaper headline stories this morning. We start off with the Armed Forces Remembrance Day and the reassurances that Mr. President has given to the families of the bereaved and fallen heroes in the country. Even in absentia, Mr. President says that the loss that these families have experienced is profound, while also telling them that their efforts and the sacrifices made by these fallen heroes will never be in vain. Now, this is captured on the front page of the New Telegraph newspaper. In a moment, we'll take that. But remember that we always read these stories out as published, and disclaimer, they do not represent our stand here at ADBN Television. Well, enough being said, let's pick up the New Telegraph newspaper with the headline story this morning. Armed Forces Remembrance Day. Your loss is profound, Tinubu tells families of fallen heroes. Honors fallen heroes, reaffirms support for armed forces. Abbas, governors salute NAF as slain soldiers' widows allege neglect by the federal government. PDP demands improved welfare for soldiers as ADC condemns Mr. President's absence. All away from the headline story, you'd find just above that, 2027, Kwankwaso sets fresh conditions for defection to the APC. Nigeria's porous borders fueling insecurity, General Musa claims. Chief of Army Staff seeks deeper Nigeria, U.S. Army cooperation. Court fixes February 16th for suit seeking deregistration of ADC, AAA, and 3 others. And Dele Momodu defects to ADC, vows to join efforts to rescue Nigeria. Right above the masthead, on tax reforms, NRS clarifies position on banks' VAT payment. And on financial crimes, EU removes Nigeria from high-risk jurisdictions list. Let's take a look at some stories at the bottom on the front page of the New Telegraph. Obi is in 2027 presidential race for common good, says a certain Abdul Karim. And court strikes out defamation suit against Natasha. On the rider, impeachment. Rivers Assembly shuns resumption date. Ijos will never abandon Fubara, no matter the pressure, INC president says. And Rivers governor gives automatic employment to children of fallen heroes, fallen soldiers, launches 2026 emblem with 100 million naira. NBS says Nigeria's December 2025 inflation rises to 15.15%. And you'd find picture of prominence capturing Vice President Kashim Shettima laying a wreath during the 2026 Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration in Abuja yesterday. These are the stories on the New Telegraph.
And from the Punch newspaper, we have the major story there. U.S. votes $413 million for security operations in Nigeria, others. And below that it says 2026 Fiscal Act backs African Bureau as U.S. AFRICOM tracks Russia's military ambitions. We have below there the pictures of prominence, having the Vice President laying a wreath. You have beautifully clad in salute to the fallen heroes. And of course we have the various chief of staffs there, laying wreaths at the cenotaph, sorry. And now let's go up. Above the masthead we have 2027. Atiku's son joins APC, backs Tinubu's re-election. And then just beside the masthead we have Rivers crisis, Assembly shelf sitting and rumored plot against Speaker. That is on page 7 of that paper. And below that, a laughing kicks as Makinde installs Ladoja, chairman of Oba's Council. And that is it on the Punch newspaper this morning.
Well, away from the Punch newspaper, let's take a look at some more stories. The Daily Monitor is up next with the son of former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar defecting to the All Progressives Congress. Now, the former VP has stated that he does not coerce his children on matters of conscience. We'll take the headline story, Atiku and son's defection to the APC. It says, and I quote, "I don't coerce my children in matters of conscience," insists he's working with like-minded patriots to restore good governance. Now let's move on to the story just beneath that. No new VAT charges on bank services, says the NRS on the Daily Monitor. No new VAT charges on bank services, says the NRS. Now right in front of that, you'd find a picture of prominence capturing Vice President Kashim Shettima during the laying of wreath ceremony in celebration of the Armed Forces Remembrance Day. Now, still staying on the Daily Monitor, let's move on to the headlines or stories right above the headline and above the masthead. Journalists commends fundraising for abducted colleague as bandits insist on 500 million naira ransom. Some 4 stories at the top. Police arraign Facebook influencer over alleged defamation of Akwa Ibom State Governor, Pastor Umar Eno. Kwankwaso says, I did not say I won't join the APC. And Nigeria's inflation stood at 15.15% in December, says the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics. Ubasani, governor of Kaduna State, targets $450 million annually from Kaduna Poultry Project. Now, this is an interesting story on news page 2 of the Daily Monitor. I will take that again slowly. Ubasani targets $450 million annually from Kaduna Poultry Project. These are the few stories splashed on the Daily Monitor.
Let's move over to the first daily newspaper, where we have right beside the masthead, Senator Natasha walks through as hope strikes out federal government stage. And below the masthead we have 2027. Our play, you need red eye to defeat Tinubu, not just cuts. That he declares. We have the picture of prominence there. We have all the service chiefs taking a salute in front of the cenotaph where our fallen heroes are being honored. That was yesterday at the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, of course. And now let's go to the side of the picture where we have Rivers impeachment drama deepens as Assembly fails to reconvene. We have right below that ADC slams Tinubu's absence at Armed Forces Remembrance Day. And following that, we have Armed Forces Remembrance Day, Fubara orders jobs for fallen soldiers' children. Now at the right of this paper we have the EFCC tenders fresh bank records in 110.4 billion naira Yaya Bello trial. Beside that, you have Nigeria records 85% capital budget performance after 2024 extension that is coming from Edwin. And then the Alafin absent as Olubadan emerges Oyo Oba's Council chairman. At the very bottom of that paper, we have APC chieftain recounts 39-day kidnap audio in Ibadan. That's the much they have on the first day today.
Well, moving away from that paper, let's move on to the Blueprint newspaper, where we hear that a report states that Nigeria's economy could grow by 5.5% in 2026 if the government agrees to fully implement key fiscal, monetary, and structural reforms. Now, this is according to a new macroeconomic outlook published on Thursday by the Nigerian Economic Summit, NESG. Nigeria's GDP heading towards 5.5% growth in 2026, says the NESG. Improved macroeconomic stability, fragile. Country cannot afford to pause. We are entering consolidation phase, says Waledun. EU removes nation from high-risk financial list. And you'd find a story just beneath that. Dangote splashes 15 billion naira on cement distributors at awards night. Right above the headline story, new tax regime will boost disposable income, cut cost of living, says Taiwo Yedele. Nigeria's oil and gas sector to attract over $30 billion investment by 2030, experts claim. Eric Chile says NFF will decide my future with Super Eagles. And above the masthead, ahead of 2027, Atiku's son dumps PDP, pledges to deliver Tinubu's second term. Let's move away from those top stories and see what the picture of prominence looks like. Vice President Kashim Shettima is seen laying a wreath during the 2026 Armed Forces Remembrance Day in Abuja on Thursday. And writer stories, Remembrance Day, Tinubu, Fubara, Mba, Makinde, others honor fallen heroes and serving troops. Federal government, Legion, plan affordable housing for veterans. Court orders interim forfeiture of $150,000 linked to Vertifly Global boss. And Alafin absent as Makinde inaugurates Ladoja, chairman Oyo Council of Obas. Analysts warn of higher costs as banks add 7.5% VAT on transfers. And lastly, defamation. Federal government strikes out criminal charges on Natasha. These are the stories on the Blueprint.
Our next stop is the Nation newspaper, where the major stories coming from the Minister of Finance, Wale Eduna. He says, building on reform gains for better results are goal. We have need that cost of living pressures remain elevated, says the NESG. Now let's go above the masthead. Okay, before then we have December inflation settled at 15.15%. That is on page 7. And then we have no VAT on bank transfers on page 7. You might want to read that up so you better understand the new tax issue. And above the masthead we have Barrow receives Atiku son into APC. It's his choice, says the ex-VP. That story is on page 4. We have Asu Konwa hopeful on path with the federal government, but it says also that autonomy is still an issue. Beside that story, we have Alafin rejects Olubadan's chairmanship of Obas Council. Now let's move down where we have the EU removes Nigeria from terrorism financing list. It's a boost for nation's financial standing. Our picture of prominence is also the Vice President laying a wreath for our fallen heroes at the Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration yesterday. And then it says, below that picture we have, peace we enjoy due to vigilance, sacrifice, says Tinubu. Fallen heroes won't be forgotten. At the very bottom of this paper, we have Anyoku Amuka canvass true federalism at Opadokun's book presentation. That story is on page 2 of the Nation's newspaper.
Moving on to the Vanguard newspaper, where Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, has explained why Nigeria is in debt to the tune of 152 trillion naira. The Vanguard newspaper tells us more. 152 trillion naira debt driven by forex rates adjustment and reforms, says Finance Minister, as he adds 30 trillion naira ways and means now recognized. Insists debt rise driven by FX revaluation, not fresh borrowing. 2025 deficit at 3.4% of GDP shows fiscal resilience. Experts react. Well, where are they reacting? That's found on news page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. Right beneath that, the gun hegemony, how military incursion arrested Nigeria's growth. These are statements from Anyoko, Amoka, Okpadokun, and others. Seek urgent return to plural federal constitution. Tinubu, Sanwo-Olu, Oshoba, others feat Okpadokun. All this is something that you might be interested in, and it's found on news page 7 of the Vanguard newspaper. Let's move away from that story to some stories just above the masthead. Rivers Assembly fails to resume amid impeachment saga. Armed Forces Remembrance Day. Tinubu, Shetima, governors, others pay tributes to fallen heroes. Abducted doctor in Edo regains freedom after 50 million naira ransom. And lastly, 2026 budget, ministry votes over 500 million naira for makeup artists, hairdressers, grinding machines. Well, if you want to find out why this is so, it's found on news page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper.
Okay, let's take a look at the Nigerian Tribune, where the major story is relief for exporters, importers, banks as Nigeria exits EU financial high-risk list. We also have national economy to grow by 4.7%. That is coming from the finance minister. It also says country has shifted from stabilization to consolidation. The headline inflation eased to 15.50% in December 2025. That is from the MBS. The story is on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune. Let's move above the masthead there. We have Atiku's son, Abba, Dom's PDP, vows to mobilize for Tinubu's re-election. That is on page 16. And of course, the ex-vice president says his decision to join the APC is personal. Now, besides that, above the masthead, we have VAT is on charges collected by banks on customers' transactions. That is coming from the NRS. Now, let's go down. We have a picture of prominence showing the vice president laying a wreath at the Armed Forces Remembrance Day yesterday. Beside that, we have some stories where Shetima, Akpabio, governors, service chiefs, others honor fallen heroes. It also says there that the ADC raises concern over the president's absence. All of this is on page 22 of the Nigerian Tribune. Following that, still on page 22, we have Okpadokun's gun hegemony rekindles debate on federalism, democracy. Now at the bottom of that, we have health. Exercise, like medicines, can ease depression symptoms. That's coming from a study. You can look that up on page 12 of the paper. At the bottom of this paper, we have a laughing absent as Olubadan emerges chairman or your council of Obas and chiefs. It says Makinde reviews council 15 years after. This story is on page 6 of the Nigerian Tribune, and the last story we are going to look at today is the 2026 budget, 344.8 billion naira retained for NAS. Science, technology, innovation to spend 838.6 billion naira. Foreign affairs gets 344.04 billion naira. This story is on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune.
Well, these are the few papers and stories that will inform our line of discussion on the program this morning, and we hear that joining us virtually is Mr. Sam Otonye, who is a member of the Ford Estate of the RAM and also a regular here on the program. A very good morning to you, Mr. Sam. Thank you so much for joining the show once again.
Thank you so much, and good morning. Thanks for having me, Chijoke.
All right, sir. Well, let's head right into it. The Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration was held yesterday, 15th January 2026, across different states in the country, including the Federal Capital Territory. And one of the messages sent to families of the fallen heroes in our country from Mr. President is that their loss is profound and that the nation stands with them even at this very difficult time. But what is your assessment of the Armed Forces Remembrance Day yesterday? Was it business as usual, or was there anything more significant that had happened beyond what was expected?
Yeah, thank you so much. It was highly rated. Let me make that point clear, because all the states, including the federal government, had the event today. Those governments to continue to assist the families of veterans, and even the federal government. The event was actually some focus and appreciation, as it were, to the services of military personnel, and is an event also for those that are still serving, to see that nation has a place for them in history and in currency, as it were, because it's an event. And even the brooch alone, what I call emblem, that's almost all government functionaries, governors, presidents, the other high places, we also a function of appreciation. A matter of fact, the world over, soldiers, military men are recognized for the duty they do, which is beyond the normal. When you have people that all that they do is to protect the citizens, protect the sovereignty of the nation, go to war, die at war, and get erased, all of those. So it's not an easy thing. It should, as a matter of fact, be given a priority in a country. In Nigeria in particular, whatever that's been done for them should even be doubled. As a matter of fact, you see, when we hear that some soldiers, at strategic security points, their allowance are being messed up, meddled with, and all of those things. Such situations are not supposed to arise at all because of the kind of job they do. So, while they should be recognized and be given some form of priority in the country, and after their service, they should also be recognized and appreciated. And I'm happy that I did a story on the Enugu State yesterday. The Watumba, the governor has promised to do, that he will continue to assist the families and all of those things. Very wonderful. It is the way to go. We need to share them. In fact, in the US, what that happens there is that wherever a military person is seen, the person is thanked. Thank for your service. Thank for your service. What service are we talking about? To the nation. Service that is beyond the ordinary. So what they do is not something that should be relegated to background. So my appeal to the federal government and the state governments is just that they must, as a matter of urgency, as a matter of priority, put our soldiers, put our veterans at strategic show and support positions. That's my take on it. The families that died at war, those that their families are suffering, they must find a way to put their families in a place where will reduce their suffering and appreciate the work that their husbands or their wives, because some of those women are there too, done for the nation, because that job is not easy. I doff my cap for them. Each time, say something, an experience I had one day. I was driving from Imo to Enu, and on the highway, it was raining heavily. The picture, the voice appeared. The soldiers on checkpoints were still there. That is the kind of job they do. Under the rain, under the sun, in the rain, they're always their checkpoints. They don't run away when rain. No, that is the kind of people they are, and they should be appreciated.
Mr. Sam, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. I was saying that while it's important that we make calls for, the federal government and the state governments across different parts of the country to prioritize the well-being of families of these fallen heroes. We've seen some certain governors, like the governor of Akwa Ibom State, Pastor Moino, who have, gone beyond what is expected to even, offer incentives, create job opportunities, give out shops to widows of these fallen heroes. It was quite fantastic to watch. Whereas in other parts of the country, we didn't see much happening. Do you think that maybe there should be reforms that will be passed into law to ensure that for every Armed Forces Remembrance Day, initiatives like the one done in Akwa Ibom State should be replicated across the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory?
Yeah, thank you so much. I don't think it's a legislation thing. I think it's a moral appeal, the moral duty to recognize and appreciate fallen heroes. It shouldn't be a matter of legislation. Legislate for what? Every government, every state, every governor should know what to do for their fallen heroes. I don't think it should be a matter of legislation.
But I understand that it's supposed to be a matter of moral duty, morality, but sometimes when you leave morals to humans, they end up not doing what is expected. But when it is binding by law, it becomes constitutional, it becomes something that when altered is a crime. Even though, of course, I understand the immunity that governors enjoy and all, but once it becomes law, it becomes inevitable. And that is the only time, I believe, that the families of the bereaved and even the servicemen can truly believe that the nation has their interest at heart. Not to be given handouts or given things based on sympathy or, like you said, moral influence.
Okay, let me add to that. Now, talking about the government,
okay.
You just react to both. Talking about the government here, that's one side of the story. You pointed out that in other countries, when anybody, not just a government, everybody, a citizen, sees a soldier, sees a veteran, they are thanked for their services. In Nigeria, we don't have that kind of respect being offered to our veterans, to our serving soldiers. Now, why do you think there is this kind of apathy to the huge risks or to the huge service that these soldiers pay to us as Nigerians?
Thank you. I want to say that the day I mentioned, I saw them in the rain, their duty, while the other ones, the police, were gone. I wouldn't want to tell you that I gave them some appreciation, right? So I think it's of the decadence in this country. Otherwise, it also speaks to what they are used for today's Nigeria. Because when you going to use soldiers that are supposed to be at strategic positions for politicians, what has done that appreciation? What has done that profound, love for them? What do? That is part of what is watering down that situation of being there, not them in Nigeria. We need to go back to what their duty should be and to handle it the way it is, watering it down by making them political, because when you see them event following politicians, even following people that are not being politicians, it becomes very common, right? I think that is part of the problem why we don't appreciate them that much, or the way they have been appreciated in the US and possibly in countries. That is one of the major reasons. So to begin to give them that place of right place where they belong, send to where they and not them be very common and be doing supposed to be done with them, and their dignity come. Their dignity is eroding because of the way Nigeria is using what shouldn't be, as a matter of fact. So until we get back to where soldiers are really seen, in places that are not supposed to be seen, that threat will not come back. That's not the situation there.
All right, Mr. Sam, could you kindly answer the question I had asked earlier?
Or please remind me.
All right, concerning the fact that when it is binding by law, it becomes compulsory for them to do so, and not necessarily as a means of sympathy or a handout or a matter of morality, like you mentioned.
Chijoke, I quite agree with you because of the way we run in this country. Otherwise, it would have been a normal thing that, these people that have done so much for us, that are doing so much for us, we don't have to look the second time to appreciate them. But because of the way Nigeria runs, having it at the legislation becomes very wonderful, so that everybody will do the needful. Every governor, every state, will do the needful, no matter who is there. That is what legislation helps to do. It doesn't matter who is on the side. Anybody that is there does what the law has said he or she should do. It makes it a bit uniform. It makes it a bit more serious, and makes, as you said, so that it won't look like a static thing. It makes it. I think I agree with you too, because it is a very valid point, given where we are and the things we do, the way we do them. I think is in order.
Okay, so now let's take a look at the issue of the president's absence yesterday. He had sent a message, telling that the loss of the widows and the children, the families indeed, is profound, and, comforting them and sending hope to them. But some people are saying he should have been at that celebration. What's your take?
I think the last thing you said.
Okay, so there's been some eyebrows being raised by the ADC as to the absence of the president at yesterday's Armed Forces celebration. Do you think that he should have been there instead of sending a message as he did? Did you get that?
All right, it appears that Mr. Samotonye's network connection is a little bit disrupted, but in a moment we hope to have him back on the line with us to lend his last thoughts to this matter before we move on. But Francisca, I think it's actually concerning the Chief of Defense Staff, who had stated that the armed forces are resolute against terrorism. And we have seen quite some comments coming from the DHU as well, all in commemoration of this Armed Forces Remembrance Day. But when it relates to the president's absence, I have always stood on the fact that the president does not have to be around for things to move smoothly the way they should move. I mean, we saw the representative of the president in the person of Vice President Kashim Shettima yesterday. We saw the president of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, present. The Deputy Speaker of the, House of Representatives, Honorable Benjamin Kalu, was also there representing the Speaker, Tajuddin Abbas. The FCT Minister also wasn't present. It was the Minister of State for the FCT, Maria Mahmoud, that was present. So, in my honest opinion, I don't think that the absence of Mr. President had affected anything at all. The most important thing is that his representatives were there, and from wherever he was, he had sent out messages of support and succor to the families of these fallen heroes. And the fact that there were some state governors in the country as well that had done what they were supposed to do in line with the Armed Forces Remembrance Day has actually gone a long way in showing that indeed the country stands at them at this very difficult and trying time.
Absolutely, Mr. Chijoke, I agree with you on that. And I think that more concern should be about how to do more for the families they leave behind. I thank God for the elaborate celebrations.
Sure.
But I actually hope that people will turn their attention from minute details that do not matter so much, to the things that will really make a difference in the life of the fallen heroes and their families.
All right, well, that's it on this particular segment of Morning Express. We'll take a break. When we return, our next guest will join us in the studio to talk other matters of national interest on the front pages. Stay with us.
For your news on the go, ADBN is everywhere you are. Stay connected with us across all our social media and streaming platforms for exclusive news updates, captivating stories, and more. Join the ADBN community today via our various platforms. An Avo TV app, ADBN Channel 121, Niger TV app, ADBN TV, Limexwell TV app. To get the latest news straight to your phone, join our WhatsApp TV channel. Just search for ADBN TV and hit the follow button. Turn on your notification to stay updated and never miss any part of the experience. Stay in the conversation with us across social media handles. On X at ADBN TV, Instagram at ADBN TV, Facebook ADBN TV, YouTube ADBN TV. Keep visiting our website on www.adbntv.com. Watch us live anytime, anywhere. ADBN TV, a part of you.
Welcome to the Niger Delta, a region of incredible beauty and stark contrast. From its breathtaking landscapes to its rich cultural heritage, this is a place where history and modernity collide. But beneath this serene surface lies a story of struggle and resilience. The Niger Delta is the lifeblood of Nigeria's economy, home to vast oil reserves that fuel the nation, yet it is a land where the people fight for their share of the wealth. Join us on the program Niger Delta Today as we explore the heart of the Niger Delta, discover the vibrant cultures, the struggles for environmental justice, and the stories of the people who call this place home. This is the Niger Delta, a land of contrast, a story of resilience, a journey of hope. Don't miss our exclusive series, Niger Delta Today, every day at 12 noon, only on ADBN TV. Witness the untold stories, experience the journey, be part of the change.
Step into the heartbeat of the world, where news meets real talk. From breakthroughs in diplomacy to humanitarian challenges and scientific milestones, Global Digest takes you beyond the headlines and straight to the heart of the matter. I am Amma Marcus. Be a part of the world unfolding stories at 3 p.m. on ADBN, channel 258 on DSTV, and Star Times, channel 140. Global Digest, your window to the world's current affairs, only on Advocate Broadcasting Network.
You're welcome back to Morning Express. Now let's head right into the next leg of discussions. Joining us in the studio on the program this morning is Alpha Jack Dean, a public affairs analyst, to talk matters of national interest. A very good morning to you, sir.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Well, let's head right into it without wasting much time. Armed Forces Remembrance Day yesterday, the Chief of Defense Staff had stated that the Armed Forces as a whole is resolute against terrorism at a very difficult time where Nigeria is embattled with different forms of insecurity, from the Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast to the banditry and kidnapping in the northwest and the north central. But what do you think this holds as a statement, just beyond mere words? Is the armed forces really resolute against terrorism?
Well, as a Nigerian, the best I can say is that they need our encouragement. Yeah. Against all odds, we truly aren't where we are. Why haven't we gotten there yet? Yeah. Remains to be seen. But as we were as a Nigerian, let me begin by saying they need our encouragement. Yeah. The bottom line is, why was yesterday earmarked for what it is? Yesterday was earmarked to celebrate or to commemorate the lives of those that were killed in the course of the Civil War, the insurgency, as you did mention, and those who died in action within and without. Even those that went on peacekeeping missions are people that on a day, come January 15th every year, we tend to, commemorate. Now, the bottom line is, are they resolute? We want to see more action. Now, more action in the sense that we believe that we have what it takes to bring this whole thing literally to a knot. Where, ideology becomes an issue, it's often not that easy to deal with it, because ideology, I can assure you, is an exportable commodity. Exportable in the sense that what was once not a part of our life has come and has slowed us down. If you look at our national budget, so much is going to defense instead of, going around to other facets of national life. And hence, is anybody benefiting from this? I've always believed that once there's a conflict that is not abating, it's probable somebody is benefiting from it. We need to actually sit down as countrymen and women, whether you're in uniform or you're out of uniform, to see how best that this insurgency can be brought to a knot.
Now, while we talk about the CDS, let's also talk about the former CDS, who is now Minister of Defense, General Christopher Musa, who had said some comments recently about individuals like Sheikh Gumi and some others, where he had stated that the friend of a thief is a thief. Now, this is on the backdrop of people that he presumes are sympathizing with terrorists. Saying that there is no ethnic, tribal, or religious brotherhood when it comes to terrorism. What are your thoughts on those comments?
Well, these are my sincere thoughts. You see, for anybody to sympathize with anyone who is causing pain to any other person, be it for whatever reason, I don't think it's something that we should allow. In my earlier remarks, I did make mention of the fact that we all as countrymen and women need to come together to see how we can bring this to an end. If you're beginning to hear discerning voices, and more so people that hold great influence in society, it does not do us any well. It does not do us any good. And hence, my candid appeal to every Nigerian, wherever you come from, is to understand that we have a common enemy, and devoid of tribe, devoid of creed, devoid of religion, devoid of social status, devoid of educational backgrounds, devoid of who you are, what you're not. It's about time that we come together and see that we defeat this common enemy together. It's for the good of all. Whether you're Christian, whether you're Muslim, you are not spared attacks. When it comes to the aftermath of what this insurgency has brought to us as a country, nobody is exempted from hunger. A hungry person is a hungry person. Right. If this insurgency were not what it is in Nigeria today, I can assure you that we would have made appreciable progress, probably more than where we are today. If you look at the way Nigeria has even been treated across the globe, it just goes to tell you something. We have everything available to make this country the cynosure of the world, but we are not there yet. And if you see what is going on here, we are being distracted by kidnapping, being distracted by the insurgency in the northeast, being distracted by banditry. I think it is too much for a people to, come to terms with. All we should be doing, you know, is to join forces with those that have kinetic, you know, abilities to see that we bring this to an end.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned joining forces with people who have kinetic energy, and reports reaching us this morning is that the United States is voting $413 million US for security operations in Nigeria and other countries. And with regards to Nigeria, we saw the joint Nigeria-US operation that you know, struck in Sokoto State. I think it was in Jabo, a community of Tambuwal local government area in Sokoto State. Something that was cheered by some Nigerians and heavily criticized
By others.
But what is your position?
Well, the bottom line is that, you see, if you look at the fluidity of international relations, you know, I did make mention earlier that terrorism is an exportable commodity. America suffered so much from the reign of terror. We saw what happened in 98 or thereabout. We saw what happened in Kenya. We saw what happened in Dar es Salaam, I believe it was. And of course, you and I know what happened, you know, on September 11th. Now, why is it exportable? If a man stands up to tell you that modern education is something that nobody should go through, and such a person is using things that modern education brought, it should tell you that, I mean, come on, there's something wrong somewhere. So, looking at what America has done, America as a nation has borne the brunt of terror. America as a nation knows that if there is terror in other parts of the world, the homeland, the mainland itself is not very safe. And hence, as a foreign policy tool, it's better you deal with it where it is a kind of beginning to subsist before it gets to us. And I want to believe that that is what actually made America to believe that now, I think, let's start taking the war to where these things are brewing, so that eventually it does not escalate and come to the mainland.
Now, Mr. Alpha, let's talk about this $413 million is it in form of military equipment? Is it in form of, you know, financial funding? What exactly is it?
No, in most instances it will be in military equipment. In most instances,
but something that the administration of former President Barack Obama had refused at the time, when the administration of former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan had gone to the U.S. to seek for military intervention in terms of military supplies.
Well, you know, in that case, we were even going to buy the equipment.
Exactly.
That was what we needed to do.
And we were refused.
And we were denied. Why were we denied? Because the American system then felt there was more to it. At some point, they felt that if you talk to sources within the military, the then Barack Obama administration knew that Nigeria actually had what it took to deal with the insurgency at that point in time.
Before it ballooned into...
Very good. But from all indications, the political will to do same was not there. Why? Because Jonathan was a Southerner, and the North was beginning to say, no, you're killing our children. And don't forget that Jonathan wanted to be re-elected. Yeah. So as a politician, he was looking at his re-election, not basically stemming the insurgency as it were. So of course it ballooned, and it has been growing ever since then.
But Mr. Alpha, in your assessment of the Boko Haram insurgency, before we started seeing the likes of the Mahmuda group, the Lakurawa, and the rest, the Boko Haram that we saw, you know, existing from 2009 up until now, it's been almost 2 decades.
That's right.
This constant battle. If this were to be a full-blown war, it has to be one of the longest wars in history.
True.
Why have we not been able to crush this menace in totality? Because you would also agree with me that the banditry we see in the northwest and the northeast is a spillover of the Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast.
Well, you see, basically there were things that we should have put in place much earlier that we didn't put in place.
Things like what?
If you don't educate a populace, if you don't give them skills, if you don't make them valuable to society, chances are they can become a menace. If you look at the out-of-school children in northern Nigeria, as it were, I can assure you that that is what has been leading to, you know, the fruity nature of insurgents being recruited every now and then. So the bottom line is that we need to sit down and come to terms with the fact that we need to begin to see that youth restiveness is dealt with. How best can we deal with youth restiveness? We need to understand that, as it were, we must give people the skill, or we must get them an education. If these people are adequately occupied, I can assure you, I mean, who will come and give you a gun now and tell you to go and be an insurgent?
Now, I like the fact that you mentioned that, because in Katsina State, we had seen recently where the Commissioner for Security and Home Affairs, Nasir Maazu, had made some certain comments that were met with heavy criticisms. He stated that the state government is preparing to release 70 bandits in exchange for some individuals who are in captivity in the bandit enclave.
We cannot have two systems operating in one country.
Exactly. Now, I want you to hold on to that thought. And some of the questions raised due to comments from, different quarters is the fact that what exactly are the demands of these people? If you're talking about lack of education, lack of basic amenities for them, are these the demands that they're laying? Because if these are the demands, why do they have to abduct poor, vulnerable citizens and then demand, like them, and then demand for millions of naira from the government?
Well, it's not from the government, even from the very poor people.
From the villagers.
That's the issue. So that is actually what makes it indescribable. The bottom line is that, yet, at some point, you see, when the residents in the Niger Delta started, the understanding was, oh, it's our oil, oil spillage, you know, this and that. I mean, there were legitimate demands.
That's right.
And governments of past, or governments in the past, looked at how best that could have been dealt with. But when the insurgency in the north started, and then it got to kidnapping, it got to, the banditry and what have you, the bandits were beginning to say that government has forgotten them. Let's be clear. They stated that at some point. So is that a legitimate demand? If government has actually forgotten you, don't forget that at some point the Jonathan-led administration came up with the Almajiri School. And it was properly funded from sources. But as it were, are those schools existing today? No. That is probably where this problem even started from. I insist that if there was an education or a skill given to every upcoming person, the person will find it very hard to go and pick up arms against his own and against his kind. Because the bottom line is that beyond probably government paying ransom or not paying ransom, why are you going to attack someone that is probably more impoverished than you are? Because you have gotten a trade that is so lucrative, you have become a multimillionaire overnight, and you're still impoverishing those that are lying down beside you. They cannot go to their farms, they cannot do anything for themselves. But the bottom line is, to answer your question, the government needs to give credence to where same must be given. You see, this thing about releasing 70 people, I criticize it. You don't get somebody in your net who caused so much suffering to another person, and then you tell me you are releasing him because that could probably help your terms of negotiation. I don't think it's the right way to go. Can we centralize this whole thing? We have a federal government in Nigeria. I understand the federating units, of course, have some powers. I mean, but if it comes to issues that border on defense, it's on the exclusive list. So I think the federal government should be allowed to be the charter. The federal government should be allowed to drive the peace process where same needs to be the case. Not states doing one thing and then the federal government doing another. I don't think that's really the way to go.
Now, while we talk about non-kinetic ways of addressing this matter, you had spoken about education, you had spoken about empowerment, and that will deter some of these young people from picking up arms against their kind. How about the proliferation of arms itself? How do these arms and ammunition get to their hands?
Well, you see, you and I must understand something. The Sahel region, as it were, starting from the crisis in Libya to what even happened in faraway Yemen, led to the proliferation of these arms. You and I also are aware of what happened in Mali, where the insurgents gained access into northern Mali. It became a trade. Now, beyond that, our porous, ungoverned spaces has made it very possible for these arms to find their way. Now, we cannot also take away the fact that when you pay ransom to bandits, they will use the same money to go and purchase arms so that they can carry on with their trade. So this in my opinion, is how we have now become an arm-laden society, and these arms are in the wrong hands.
In the wrong hands.
There are legitimate arms, there are of course illegitimate arms. But how did the illegitimate arms got to where we are? It was being fueled by ideology. It's been fueled by somebody telling you that we have been forgotten, and if we don't do this, we may not, you know, get our pride of place as a people, because we're all Nigerians, all sorts of things coming up. But the bottom line is that I still insist, where kinetic measures need to be taken, same should be taken. Where non-kinetic measures need to be taken, same should also be taken. But at this point in time, I think it's best we give credence to kinetic measures. Thereafter, we can sit down and see how we can build on non-kinetic measures.
Mr. Alpha, the former Chief of Defense Staff and now the Minister of Defense, C.G. Musa, had at some point when he was in office as the Chief of Defense Staff, suggested that we fence Nigeria's borders with. I know this might come as a very funny comment, but he had suggested that we fence Nigeria's porous borders with our neighbors like Niger, Cameroon, Benin Republic, and Chad, while also citing examples of places like Pakistan and Saudi Arabia who had done the same, and it sort of helped in ensuring the safety of their citizens.
Well, General Musa is a very revered Nigerian as we speak. Yeah. I want to believe in his military days, he did so well. Yeah. He is somebody that is highly celebrated. But I had a sense of, a dint of disappointment when he made that comment. Yes, I'll tell you. Okay. President Trump said he was going to fence the southern border so that the Latinos will stop trooping into. I don't think he has been able to achieve that. I agreed there was a 4-year break. Now, in this day and age, you don't need to put physical fences. What you need is technology. And this technology is very available. I can assure you that we have satellite pictures. You and I, what we are discussing now, can be beamed across the world via satellite.
That's right.
So, you and I know where Nigeria's border starts. We also know where that of Niger and our neighbors begin. Don't forget that you will need a collaboration between the countries that are bordering us. But the bottom line is you don't need to go and put up a physical fence. What kind of physical fence do you want to put?
But is it possible? Is it achievable?
I don't see it as necessary. There's nothing that is not achievable.
Necessary or not, is it achievable?
I wouldn't give it a thought. Okay. If I were to be in the position of authority, I wouldn't give it a thought. Instead, I would say, let's give credence, let's deploy technology. You can be sitting here and watching what is happening 2,000 miles away from here.
But beyond just watching it, response time is another thing to consider.
Well, you see, technology has taken care of all these things. You know, when I hear people talk about, oh, let's recruit people into the armed forces, are we recruiting these boys to go and get killed? If you want to recruit people into the armed forces, I hope you're going to recruit an elite corps that will deal with border issues, that will deal with insurgency, kidnapping, what have you. Now, there is nothing that technology has not made available to us today. You see, are you going to recruit boys so that, don't forget these insurgents are more experienced than they are at the moment. So are you going to recruit somebody like that to go and fight somebody like that?
Who is
very good. All you are saying is that maybe let's just go and get these boys killed. If it comes to recruiting people, I would rather those on the reserve bench bring them back. You get my point? Recruit an elite corps. America is already talking of a space force. Of course, they have the Army, they have the Navy, they have the Air Force. They are already talking of a space force. America is thinking of a radar coverage that can cover the whole of something close to the Dome in Israel, where, you know, you can get intercontinental missiles even before they, you know, those kind of things. I think it's about time we start thinking that far. Nigeria is best blessed with some of the best brains available. We can leverage on our youths to make Nigeria the synergy of the world. Nigeria is probably the most blessed of all nations. I mean, we are talking of brain drain and what have you. Those doing exploits in critical sectors of humanity, innovation, technology, what have you and what have not. Some of them were trained in Nigerian institutions. But because they, you know, society has given them impetus to excel. They are doing so well. I can assure you that if we do same here, in no distant time, you and I don't need to go and import cameras. We don't need to import anything in this studio, as it were. We already have the technology. We know what to do to see that these things are brought to fruition. So why are we so laid back? I want to see these boys that we call them Yahoo boys that are so intelligent. Let's get them
to good use.
Let's put them to good use. And in no distant future, Nigeria will take its pride of place in the Committee of Nations.
All right, quite very salient points you've made, Mr. Alpha, but we have just about 5 minutes to wrap up the discussion. Let's turn our attention to political matters.
Okay.
Yesterday, we saw the son of former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, Abba Atiku Abubakar, defecting to the All Progressives Congress. He was welcomed by the Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Barrow Jibrin, in the Federal Capital Territory here, something that has sparked a lot of reactions on the internet, with many casually saying that, or jokingly saying that the father is in the ADC, his son is in the APC, and his first son, Adamu Atiku Abubakar, is a commissioner in the PDP-led administration in Adamawa State.
Well, so much for so much.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, I hope the boy is not going there. I mean, the man, I don't know him, you know. I hope the guy is not going there to serve as a spy. For
in the APC.
In the APC.
Is this a possibility?
It's very possible. Because, you see, the thing is that I know that most of his sons, I really don't know any of them, but anytime their father was campaigning, they were always there with the father.
Yes.
So for you to, but you see, there's a very thin line between the ADC, between the APC, and between the APC and the PDP. It's just a function of convenience for them.
Yeah.
Atiku moved over to ADC because he knows APC will not give him a ticket. It's not likely PDP will give him a ticket. So the bottom line is that if you look at what is happening, it's not really anything worth celebrating, in my candid opinion, because there's a very thin line. I mean, it's not even an ideological thing. I mean, the guy just decides, okay, probably I'll do very well in the APC. If my father don't end up becoming a president and I end up becoming a minister, I don't think there's anything wrong. But if his father becomes president, he wouldn't need to become a minister. So there are all manner of permutations left, right, and center.
Now, when asked about his son's defection to the APC, the former VP had stated, and I'll quote his statement, "I don't coerce my children in matters of conscience." Now, he went on to say that he's working with like-minded patriots to restore good governance.
Let's take that for Atiku, with due respect, is just being a good father.
Okay.
That's all I can say.
He's just being a good father.
He's just being a good father.
well, that's a very interesting take. Well, in due time, we would have to...
It remains to be seen.
Exactly.
We will see whatever it is.
Keep fingers crossed.
If God keeps us alive, things will play out, and we'll understand why certain actions were taken at certain times, you know, in our national history.
All right, I just want you to touch on one more thing before we go. That the former Labour Party running mate to Peter Obi in the last general elections has stated he made some very strong comments about the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, especially going into the 2027 general elections. And I just want us to read out together in a moment. Let's take a look at the first daily to see what Deti Ahmed had stated on the front page. On the front page of the first daily, the headline story there says, 2027 power play. You need red eye to defeat Tinubu, not just courts. Well, this is a statement from Deti. What do you think, Mr. Alpha?
Well, you see, I used to know Deti while he was in the House of Reps.
Yeah.
I covered the House of Reps, that was about 20 years ago. Now, Deti is a firebrand.
Yeah.
I can assure you a lot of his colleagues didn't like his approach to many things. So I'm actually not surprised that 20 years down the road, he is speaking this way.
Yeah.
Well, you know, they believe that they were denied the election. They believe in 2023, they believe they won the elections.
Okay.
So I think they are still wallowing in that sense of, you guys denied us.
But this red eye he's talking about, I believe Nigerians watching us right now would want to know what this ambiguous statement
it's really not ambiguous. You know, the bottom line, there's no impetus, there's no strength, there's no bite
in the statement.
In that statement, I don't see any.
No.
It's just politics at play. It's just telling you we're here, We are still relevant, and nobody is telling you that Peter Obi may not contest. And nobody is telling you that if Peter Obi decides to contest or not contest, or if he decides to contest, that he will still not be his VP. You can never tell. There is so much...
he is in the ADC now.
Well, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. Because the thing is that he could have gone to the ADC, because everybody have said, you have no place. You don't seem to be anywhere. But, I mean, what makes you think if Atiku gets the ticket, which is likely going to happen?
That he wouldn't pick Peter Obi?
That he may not... Well, Peter Obi has said he's not going to run as VP. And I don't think it will augur well for him. If I were him, it may not be the best of happenstances. It's better, if for any reason it does not go his way, he can go back to Labour Party. I believe they will welcome him, and then they move on from there. I don't think the Labour Party thing for Peter Obi is off the table completely. I doubt very much.
Well, quite very interesting analysis there. Thank you so much, Mr. Alpha Jagdin.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Well, I have been speaking to Alpha Jagdin, a public affairs analyst, on matters of national interest in the news this morning. We'll take a break. When we return, Beat O'Brien will be back in the studio to take you through the next leg of discussions. Do well to stay with us.
Welcome to FCT in Focus, your window to the vibrant heartbeat of Nigeria's capital. We dive deep into the core of the FCT, exploring how key policies and decisions shape lives across the city. From exclusive insights into the FCT administration to voices from the streets, we bring you stories that matter. Catch FCT in Focus every Saturday and Sunday at noon. Tune in for the latest stories directly from the nation's hearts. In all her glory. With more, because we've got you. You know that I got it. You get it. We got kicks. We got scores. We got action. We got roars.
It's my specialty.
We got drama. We got fun. Crazy. We got more for everyone. Bingo. You know that I got it. You know that I got it. Come get it. Come get with us and stick with us too. And boom, there's an upgrade on us just for you. We got you. More channels, more shows, more reasons to stay.
Perfect.
For the fam, for the crew, more for you every day. Yes, we've got more of everything you need to start your year with extra joy. Thank you. DSTV, we've got you all the way. You know that I got it.
This is AFCON, my friend. Everything is a competition. Everything.
Enjoy AFCON Morocco 2025 from 21st December to 18th January on SuperSport. Join the family today. Get DSTV for a new lower price of 7,900 Naira.
10 singles step into the love pad where love isn't just found, it's tested.
Along.
Lines blur, desire takes over, and jealousy hits harder than any storm.
I'm jealous, and it's not something I hide.
Some find romance they've waited for their whole lives, and where there's love, there's bound to be heartbreak. In the love pad, every heartbeat counts, but in the end, who will find true love?
Function of the parliament is adequate representation of their constituents in state echoes to federation. Representation of their constituents in state echoes to federation.
Removal of fuel subsidies, resources to critical sectors such as education and health. A call to unity and progress of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
NAS Unplugged is a program that will highlight topical issues from both chambers of the National Assembly, from bills, motions, and constituency projects.
Guys have it.
Catch the program on ADBN TV, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays as we bring you activities of the National Assembly as it affects the people.
During the flood disaster in Maiduguri and its environs.
For increase in the number of judges in the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. The eye serving.
NAS Unplugged, Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays at 8 p.m.
Do you know what gamalin 20 is? It is a dangerous chemical pesticide never meant for human consumption. Sadly, some fishermen illegally use gamalin 20 to catch fish, poisoning not just the water, but the food on your plate. Here's how to spot fish caught with gamalin 20. Fish that look unusually fresh but stiff. A strange chemical smell, sometimes like kerosene, when cooked. Pale or bleached gills, peeling scales, or sunken eyes. Eating such fish can cause nausea, vomiting, and even damage your liver and kidneys. In severe cases, it can lead to life-threatening health complications. Remember, using gamalin 20 for fishing is a crime. It harms people, rivers, and marine life. Protect your health. Buy fish only from trusted sellers. Report suspicious fishing practices to the authorities. Together, let's keep our waters safe and our meals healthy. Welcome to the Niger Delta, a region of incredible beauty and stark contrast. From its breathtaking landscapes to its rich cultural heritage, this is a place where history and modernity collide. But beneath this serene surface lies a story of struggle and resilience. The Niger Delta is the lifeblood of Nigeria's economy, home to vast oil reserves that fuel the nation, yet it is a land where the people fight for their share of the wealth. Join us on the program Niger Delta Today as we explore the heart of the Niger Delta, discover the vibrant cultures, the struggles for environmental justice, and the stories of the people who call this place home. This is the Niger Delta, a land of contrast, a story of resilience, a journey of hope. Don't miss our exclusive series, Niger Delta Today, every day at 12 noon, only on ADBN TV. Witness the untold stories, experience the journey, be part of the change.
Hello and welcome back to Morning Express for the second half of discussions on our flagship program. Many thanks to Chijioke Okafo for taking us through the newspaper review and deliberations around issues in the news. My name is Beto Bryan, and at this point I'll be having our next guest on the program who would be speaking to the topic, Strategies for Effective Election Monitoring, in person of the President of the University of Nigeria Alumni Association Abuja branch, Chief Dr. Ben Owodinjo. Chief Doctor, Happy New Year and welcome to the studio.
The same to you. How are you today?
Very well, thanks for asking. I can see you're looking very resplendent.
I'm now a chief.
Yes, please.
So we have to dress like chiefs.
We need to celebrate the red cap.
It is worth it.
Particularly before we delve into this, the role of traditional rulers and chieftains have been discussed over time as to the constitutional role beyond the handshake most governors give them in terms of our approach in tackling insecurity and ensuring that grassroots development is better urged in society. Now that you're a chief, how much of an advocacy would this be in your dealings?
Because if you look at governance, you find that government, in terms of orthodox government, is absolutely farther than from the masses. These chiefs are the ones that are actually in tandem with the masses. So the moral authorities they exercise are the kind of things that actually impact and affect the performance and the attitude of the masses and the way they relate to government. You find out that the chiefs, let me say, control the pulse of the masses. and be able to, most of the masses are not educated, are not quite learned. So the advocacy for chieftaincy participation in governance is key to national development, because the chiefs ensure and they regulate the impulse, regulate the temperature, regulate the attitude and approach of the masses in line with civic responsibilities. So it's very important that we keep advocating for the participation of the local traditional rulers and those who hold moral authorities across the country, for the country to even, otherwise you can be making policies in government, making policies at the state level, local government level. It will not percolate down. And I don't know, you still keep having gaps in governance and in social and community development.
Well, that being said, I would look forward to your reign as chief. Long may your reign continue, and how this advocacy for better governance is also carried out quite symbolically in your activities.
Thank you very much.
Now to the topic on the day. Quite interestingly, the INEC chairman, Professor Joash Amupiton, declaring a 2-day workshop for new commissioners in the INEC in Lagos, said that the off-cycle elections in Osun and the FCT as well would serve as good testing grounds for 2027. Many argued that the 2025 off-cycle elections in Anambra was a tad bit too early into his tenure as INEC chairman to test his efficiency in terms of deploying some of the technologies that would embolden trust in the process. Today we look to discuss strategies for effective election monitoring. How much of, would I call it a binding vow is that in terms of the promise by the INEC chairman of testing the grounds ahead of 2027 with this off-cycle elections?
The taste of the food is in the eating. We have seen nice speeches. We have seen theories. Now we are here alive to see. Now, in public policy analysis, you measure what government people say from the performance, not from the theory. So we are going to be, God will keep us alive to measure, to monitor in tandem with the constitutional requirements. So we've heard what INEC chairman said, good enough. But what we're saying that let us now see the elections and see the extent to which the elections comply to the Electoral Acts, comply to equity, justice, and fair play. Because without that, there will be insufficient development DDCs in the country, and the country will be suffering. Imagine if we have, let me tell you, there is a direct relationship between the electoral practices and the level of poverty. Because if the elections are credible, if the elections are reliable and trustworthy, it will have a direct positive effect in terms of development. And then, so that will be, because if INEC holds the key, because if the elections are good and fair, you find out that it will be able to reduce the poverty level in the country. Look at our poverty rate, the level of people who living below poverty line, the level of employment, the level of inefficiency, unemployment, lend them. So the quality of elections in Nigeria is directly proportional to the level of development. So we watch and see.
Well, one thing that is key in all you've said is the role of the Electoral Acts.
Yes.
Last year ended with the National Assembly having passed second reading, deliberations on inputs for what the new Electoral Act would provide for, with recommendations that electoral offences be severely punished to the level that parties be disqualified from contesting an election. I'd like your honest opinion on how far this role of Electoral Act amendment would go in strengthening the electoral process in itself.
We shy away from postulating because people are listening to you, and then you find out that you end up postulating, you end up providing answers that may not be in tandem with what you have in mind. Like I told you the other time, we have in public policy analysis, we have deep structure and surface structure. You discover that at most of the times, Nigerians, the public policymakers, pursue policy from the surface structure. Meanwhile, they mean something else. So this whole thing we have to boil down to what they actually do from what they say. What is the big deal about passing anything? You can pass something, National Assembly pass it. What about the implementation? That is where the matter lies. So we don't make the policies. We analyze the policies. We monitor them, and to see, it's like checks and balances, to see the extent to which they conform to best practices.
Now, why I ask so is because some Nigerians are also suckers for processes. And with the way our National Assembly is structured, the House of Representatives and the Senate all working in tandem, whilst as it were, the House of Representatives passed the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2025 in a clause-by-clause approach, the Senate was only at second reading citing some ambiguity in certain clauses, particularly with this power to punish electoral offences, because people allude to the fact that the key actors, who are the politicians in the elections, are largely responsible for election irregularities. They're the ones who sponsor vote buying, sponsor thuggery and whatnot. The common man is just but an object in their hands. Based on that argument and the needed laws to empower whatever enforcement we choose to hang on the body saddled with enforcing these laws, take their powers from the passage at first. And that's why I started with that question. Now, while it's delayed at the Senate, whilst it looks as though the House of Representatives has concluded business on the day, are there any key takeaways, high points to deduce from these delays? Are they done strategically to ensure that the right thing is done, or do you see it as part of the clogs in the wheel?
I prefer the last one. Do you know the problem with Nigeria? I'm a public policy analyst. The institutions are basically weak, and the individuals are stronger. Make nice policies. What about the implementation? Which institutions are going to implement them? That's why I told you that we need to have to see the new INEC chairman to see the extent to which he has the guts, or rather which he has the grit, to implement the amendments. Without that, you find out that we will still be, rigmarole for the public. If we analyze it, what about implementing it? Let us look at the institutions that can ensure that these things are implemented to the letter. Name them. Is it INEC? We don't have the trust yet for INEC. Which is it the police? Is it the security agencies? So if people are listening to you and you keep telling them, the more you tell them what is odious, the more they begin to continue to lose interest in that's what they talk. So I'm saying, to the extent that we have the institutions that can implement these things, to that extent we will be able to understand that it can work or not. Otherwise, it is still theory.
Well, thank you very much. I know Nigerians are keen on the fact that this must be fast-tracked, and despite the Committee on the Senate reviewing the clause-by-clause details of the Electoral Amendment Act, there were some key proposals last year that sparked a lot of anxiety and suspicion on the part of the electorate. One of such proposals was to bring forward the elections, 2027 general elections. There were recommendations that the presidential and general elections for the office of governors across states be held in November 2026. A lot of people considered that proposal dead on arrival, citing logistical challenges and the need to update the voter register, that the time between now and November 2026 will not allow for all that to happen. People are also talking about the fact that it would help cut down the budget in terms of how much is expended on the conduct of elections. I don't know what your side of the argument would be on that proposal to bring such elections forward to November of 2026.
No, I don't buy that idea. Because, like I keep saying it, when people make policies, when people make suggestions, look at the deep structure. They have their own personal reasons as against the public interest. Probably the people who are championing this cause must have understood that if this election holds at the appropriate time, their opponents may have an upper hand. So they will masquerade personal interest for public interest and pursue it. And by the time you say, go ahead now, you say that it hasn't got much in it. So I don't subscribe to that. Let the timetable be as it is.
Now, I was curious when that proposal came out, and when I read through some of the, what I call it, the facts to defend this shift in election dates, it was on the calculation basis that if it's conducted in November 2026, it will be roughly 185 days before the handover to the next government on May 29 of 2027, thereby allowing for all litigations and the processes that normally follow the conduct of elections in Nigeria to be thrashed out in courts before proper handover is done, so that we don't have an incumbent using the power of incumbency to finance the court's travails having emerged as winner in an election. Does that hold any water?
No. If the country has gone actually digital, that is to say, the IREV, the technology is now working. It can fly. Until then, it will not, because like I told you, if you look at these people who are pursuing this interest, you find out that they have an ulterior motive. They have a deep structure. Sir, I may want to do something. I'll give you reasons. But what about implementation? What about the overall public interest? So the country is not, to me, is not strong enough in terms of elections to be able to pursue that angle. Otherwise, logistics, it will even fail. You have to have the elections. You know, we are an evolving democracy. We have to have the elections first before we talk about being able to meet 180 days prior to handover. So it is a question of time. But until then, I see that surface structure reasons. Deep structure is that they have other ulterior motives they want to pursue in terms of national interest. Because if we are doing elections, I would have calculated my own chances. And I say, if we do this way now, it will favor also. They come together, consultants come together, put up to something, and start pushing. At the end of it all, you find out that it's personal interest.
All right, now let's talk about a key component. In all these debates, most times, we will often underemphasize the importance of the electorate, the voters in themselves. But the argument in the opposite is that we don't have the data to back this argument in the first place. When we talk about our voter register, it's been questioned as to how accurate it is. Starting with even our population, we say we're roughly over 220 million Nigerians, owing to the fact that there's been a hiatus in our census, population counting. But particularly, it was also with this argument that the proposal said, beyond using permanent voters card to identify who a voter is, any eligible Nigerian with a NIN number, a passport, or a birth certificate should be allowed to vote. Does this make for a comprehensive voter register, or do you see some of the alluded personal issues in whoever proposed that amendment as to how we can identify a voter in Nigeria?
I, personally, my opinion, believe that it is important that the citizens are made to have a voter's card. The NIN, another data, driver license, have different purposes. And the voter's card is designed to meet this purpose. These are part of civic responsibilities. What have you lost if you say, go and get a voter's card? Is the country so poor that they can't afford it? What I'm trying to say that I believe that it is important that we division of labor. This for this, this for this. Otherwise, why don't we join Radio Nigeria, NTA, all of them put them in here? Because each person has its own strengths and weaknesses.
And statutory functions.
And functions. Okay, why do we have NTA, ADBN? Why don't we say everything once? Then it does not make for efficiency. It makes for clog in the ways of progress. So those who are saying that, see, when they look at, they see where they can manipulate, the system. If date of birth and no, it's not the algorithms for driver license. I was the research officer before. It's not designed to meet voting. So let it be as it is, but let us improve on the process. Let us improve on the contents. My problem with this country is that people bring personal ideas, personal agenda, put something in it, and start pursuing it, pushing it. And then if you accept it, and you say it will still collapse because there's no sufficient sincerity in what they're saying. They want to that mediocrity, that insincerity is the problem.
Now, this calls for re-strategization, particularly on the part of the INEC. I particularly like the drive to call for new registration of voters that started last year, although currently the FCT has been suspended to give way for the FCT elections that would soon come. But when we looked at the figures that came in last year, over 9.8 million new voters began the process of online registration to obtain their PVCs. At the start of the year, INEC published that out of that 9.8, 2.3 million of them completed their registrations and will be picking up their PVCs soon. They also announced that the second half of PVC registrations will be commencing outside the FCT for other states to encourage new voters and new entrants into the voters register. If you were to score INEC's strategy in getting more persons to come on board to increase our voting numbers, what would you say?
I will score them well. Now, INEC, so far, so good. We will not begin to cry foul when there's none. I can say, if you ask me to score INEC, me, Chief, I will say 65%. But the crux of the matter will be in terms of the application of it. So if they are doing that, well, maybe let's see whether the new chairman comes with a new vibe. So if they can be at this pace and then be able to have this election concluded it appears it is more polished. It's less. I'm trying to use I'm trying to look for a TV word. He's less rash. He's more of an intellectual. So that's why we have less gray areas. So if he continues at this pace, then we can be happier. I can score an 65% as I did today. This is the symbolic value. But let us hope that at no juncture that he will buckle.
Now, I like your score of 65 for the INEC. It means it's above average.
Yes, it is, for now.
But for now, for Nigerians, because in 2023, I don't know if you remember, there were a lot of viral videos of uncollected PVCs found in bushes. Persons cried foul, says disenfranchisement. Nigerians were queried as to why they don't complete registration processes of returning to pick back their permanent cards. Usually you're issued a temporary slip when you complete your registration. What strategies can be deployed to curb these incidences of uncollected PVCs by Nigerians?
Simple, very simple one. Because you know why? Do you know why people don't even bother going to pick their cards? Because they believe that it won't count. What is the point? Now, if you mobilize people, put pressure to go and register. Along the line of registration, they discover that this will not be so. That thing that says is different too. They lose interest. They're even looking for their daily bread. They don't bother. So let INEC continue to pursue this issue of building of trust. Now he has started. The INEC chairman has started building the trust. So if people find the trust that it is positive, they will go out of their way to collect their PVC. They will go out of their way to reach, to meet the standards and vote. But if at any time people feel that, don't mind this people, they will forget about it. So simple thing, build confidence building, trust building, and people will do it. No rocket science. If I suspect, remember, the people you're talking to, they're not totally daft. You're talking to me now. It doesn't matter what you are saying. I'll be able to understand that this man is actually genuine or not. If you keep telling me contradictory stuff every time, I don't need to bother. I can go and face my daily life. So let the government, let the INEC continuously hold this tempo and build trust in the fact that it is just this country that we have. If the electoral system is flawed, the country will keep dipping down into poverty and not be able to be not be able to be comparative to other countries across the globe.
Now, people also argue that there is the role of what I call it regional politics at play. Traditionally, when you call for registration, there's some states that always emerge high with the numbers of newly registered voters. Now, currently, when we look at the data available to us, INEC tells us that registration is low in states like Cross River, whereas when you go to states like Lagos, there are more registered voters, newly registered voters. People argue that it's also in terms of population, what we call it, population displacement as well, of persons, urban-rural migration as well, to where you have more populated areas. Do you think that historically, regional politics and cultural behavior plays a role in voter apathy as well?
No, I have a different idea. Can I say my own mind?
Yes, please.
Now, look at some states that are politically more aware, more conscious, and states whose lives directly depend on politics and the activities of politicians. There are places you go to, their local lives depend on fishing, farming, and the petty survival. Places like Lagos, you just have to be conscious of politics, because a simple policy made by government can ruin you or can promote you. So they tend to gravitate towards political underpinnings. So check any state that has higher incidence of voter registration. These are places where their lives depend to a good extent on the activities of politicians. Otherwise, if I'm in a village, whether you're a governor of any state, it doesn't concern me. Whether you're a local government, I just depend on going to farm, coming back to sell my goods, and live subsistent life. So those areas we've mentioned, without me mentioning their names, are places where the citizens depend to a good extent on political activities and the nuances of politicians, because they know that. And then of course, if the political activities are of high tendency, you find out that there's more awareness, there are more radio stations there are more activities, there are more impact of politicians there. So they will try to go towards helping to register, to enable them to be able to influence their lives.
Now, it might interest our viewers to note as well, talking about the factors which he says largely influence registrations of voters, particularly with persons who believe that the political landscape barely affects their everyday to-day life, whilst others who are more political conscious are aware, see the benefits of being involved in politicking rather than even the dividends of democracy itself, which is governance. Now, INEC did release its stat for the highest number of new registrants into the voter register. Osun led with over 208,357 registrants as of early December 2025. Kanu was second with 159,669 registrants. Sokoto, 152,650 registrants. Imo, 145,561 registrants. Borno, 123,835 registrants. Now, the low performers in terms of states were states like Cross River, Ondo, Enugu, and Abia. Now, currently, the suspension of the second phase of registration is ongoing in the FCT as it gears up for the FCT council elections. Now, coming to election monitoring, which largely the 2023 general elections served as a litmus test as to deployment of BVAS transmission on the IREF portal. And if you sample opinion of some Nigerians, they'll tell you there was a deficit in trust in terms of the outgone INEC chairman's promise of real transmission in real time. Now, that clause has been debated largely. But talk to us about what you feel the technological mandate is in terms of electoral monitoring on the part of the INEC, and how can Nigerians have a collective sense of responsibility in monitoring the elections?
If you say, how can Nigerians? I wonder how Nigerians can. The INEC has been given statutory functions of actually pursuing these elections, they are mandated to run elections. No other person has that constitutional role. So it has to really depend on INEC and how INEC governs people. Now, remember, if you say monitoring elections, it suggests that there's an independent person or independent body going to be able to score. It's like, score the performance. So if we look at, it still has to depend on the nuances of INEC. Me, I don't have the constitutional powers. You don't have. They have. We are to score them. So, and then know whether they actually are able to meet the standards. So now there are several technological tools available. The extent to which they meet them depends on their capacity to understand their position in the country. IREV, BVAS, all of them. If another glitches happen, what will you do?
Now, Chief, so you don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's the sense of shared responsibilities Nigerians have at their polling units. They pick up their phone. When the numbers are being collated, they record and send to WhatsApp platforms. Nigerians felt a shared sense of responsibility that since it's going to be online on the IREF portal, we can follow the collation in real time. Don't get me wrong, I don't challenge INEC's mandate to do that. It's just that shared sense of responsibility. People want to know that you're following the results in your polling units. And would I say maybe it's the history of our open elections at the time when we would stand in queues and you could tell which line was longer than the other, that informed this sense of shared responsibility when it comes to monitoring results. So that's the angle I'm coming from. I don't know if you quite understand where I'm headed.
I do, but I'm saying, I do. I'm trying to give you my personal opinion. I'm not talking for anybody, and I have a right to my opinion. I'm saying the extent to which all this is I've said still depends on the INEC. On the INEC themselves. If INEC decides to game Nigerians, what will you do? That will game you. Because as they're giving you these tools, they're also planning plan B of how to, before 2023, when you are Nigerian, did you know that there will be glitches?
At all. That brings me to the point of Form A, the open ballot, and now the closed ballot system that we have. Many Nigerians are arguing that we go back to one of what was considered one of the first elections in terms of the June 12, 1993 elections. Do you see Form A doing anything different? I think we're an advanced people. We should use technology more.
But it still boils down to INEC. Say anything. If you are preparing for the BVAS, AI tools, technical tools, and if I'm not saying I'm saying if they are also preparing for Plan B, meaning how it will be frustrated, what will you do? So that day you may hear another. That was my first time of hearing technical glitches. If we have another one, what will you do? So it has to be depend on the capacity of INEC to understand that the development of Nigeria depends on their attitude. That it has to be free and fair. It has to be truly free and fair. It has to be in line with equity, justice, and fair play. Otherwise, say everything, they'll give a new rule, you go to court, it happens like that. People will lose more interest. So the monitoring of the elections, we can do the theory of it. But all of that, because a monitor doesn't have the constitutional rights to implement anyone. You understand? So we can monitor the elections in four categories. One, we have to monitor the body language, the positions of the public. Let me say, the macro levels, micro levels, technical levels, and the soft issues. We have to monitor the elections at 4 levels. Because you've asked me the strategies for monitoring elections. I'm saying there are going to be 4. One, we're going to monitor the attitude of the government, the stance of the government, that at the federal level, local government level, and state level. Of course, if you say government, you are including the legislature, the National Assembly members, and the executive, and others. And then also, to what extent can the tools deployed deliver on good conduct? 3, what extent are the people galvanized in terms of voter education, in terms of voter apathy, and so on and so forth? 4, what are the issues of motivation? Are people motivated to actually vote or not? Or do they feel, don't mind them, it will be as usual? So we're going to, these are the 4 elements tools of monitoring of elections in Nigeria, especially as regards to 2027.
Quite interesting. 4. Pragmatically, when we look at these 4 approaches you've listed, I'd like to talk about the motivation, because I believe that's where the buy-in is from Nigerians. Largely, people argue if votes really count, or it's just a ceremony in terms of having elections. I know we have foreign election observers also coming to Nigeria, and they always file reports. Some of the reports, INEC will tell you they're being deliberated. A lot of them are not statutorily their responsibility. It's been, it's been handed over to the National Assembly to implement this recommendation by election observers. How do we engender the buy-in from foreign election observer reports on strategies to improve our process?
2 ways. 1, I'm looking for a TV word. I'm trying to find the TV.
Take your time. Take your time, please.
I'm trying to find the TV word, because I don't say something that will. Now, we have the quasi strategy and the opposite strategy. Now, I'm a public policy analyst. Now, why? When you want to say we are motivating people to comply, one, some people, there was a state, without mentioning their names, where before I was in a TV station channels, they were saying, for you come to register, you bring your PVC, then your NIN, and they give you 1,000 naira and a mood of rice. So people are looking forward to, I am contesting. Then people who come to vote for you are coming to see how much they collect from you. For them, that is motivation. But that's not, that one is the quasi one. The correct one should be the extent to which the trust people have in the system, the trust people have in the candidate, the trust people have in the party system itself, so that they believe that if I go and vote and the majority, maybe I belong to the majority voting pattern, these people are actually credible enough to be able to engender better lives for Nigerians, engender and promote good governance, for us to be less poor and less suffering. Otherwise, motivation will be rogue. So where people do, people do vote buying, people do other, I'm struggling to find TV words. People go wrong, people do wrong things to be able to motivate. So either I make you to go into secret courts, I'm going to ask you to swear to blood oath, I'm going to ask you to sign undertaking, I'm going to ask you to give you bribe, and so on and so forth. These are the types of motivation. And that is why the foreign observers sometimes, they see a discrepancy between the local reports and the actual things they find themselves, because the motivations are rogue. I said, as you are voting, I'll give you 1,000, 2,000 people vote. So, or give you face cap and the T-shirt, or give you, bring back a bag of rice and 500 people share it. So those motivations are not correct. It will be a certain by the system builds trust to the extent that we know that these people will deliver. If there is wrong elections, suffering will continue. If there's good elections, the country will be able to remain competitive globally.
Quite interesting. I like the optimism in your voice this morning. The only worrying part is that people say poverty has been weaponized. That's why it's quite easy for persons to buy and sell votes during elections. Now, it's on the role of the anti-graft agencies over time, who have also monitored elections and conducted arrests. Normally statutory, owing to the electoral guidelines, the police are not allowed to carry any arms. Usually you find thugs invade a polling unit, scuttle the ballot boxes, and they cannot be, what I call it, challenged, because the law enforcement on ground is not kitted to restrain them. Usually they are more armed than whatever law enforcement you have. With this introduction of technology, people are also contemplating, why don't we have electronic voting so that people do not come to polling units and queue and be faced with this election violence? What are some other strategies that would help us fight against election thuggery on election day?
One only, reduce the level of illiteracy. Do you know the literacy level of Nigerians? Check. There are people you can easily mobilize to go and commit thuggery. Sir, as well, can I get you to go and do thuggery? Can you get me to go and do thuggery? It's not possible now. But there is a place in Abuja you can go to now. You can get 1,000 people now and start fighting. One, let there be a deliberate effort to reduce the level of illiteracy and poverty, because illiteracy is tangential to poverty. Now, if there is no, I'm trying to use TV word again, if there is no supply of those who can do thuggery, or rather, if there's insufficient supply of thuggery materials, it will reduce. Two, demotivate thuggery. If we rely on the security agencies alone, it will not be enough, because they can't go around. You mentioned the EFCC, you mentioned the police. They can't. The highest security we can do in Nigeria is self-security, is awareness creation, is being able to hold the people to the norms. If we understand that it is to our own collective interest that this election is good, that thuggery is not the best, then it will be better. Now, also, the people who are going to be able to be doing the election themselves, the politicians themselves, who know that, after all, it is thuggery, it is being rogue. They know that they're not the one popular. They use thuggery and bribery and other rogue instruments to win elections. I think it's not good. So it is a massive NOA, a massive attack at ignorance. Otherwise, because the enlightened mind is a liberated mind. Most of the Nigerians are not liberated enough. Go to unserved areas. See people, there's a place you can take a trailer, go now, you shatter them, and they can commit crime. Here. Anywhere
owing to lack of information that what they are doing is a crime.
That is it. Owing to ignorance. Don't you know that there's a place you can go today? Just put your motor, give them small change. They will gather there and go and commit crime or go and do thuggery and come back.
Yeah. Well, we see it when there are protests. We see anti-protesters and protesters, no matter what the cause is.
So the only way is for government and the other stakeholders to continuously reduce that possibility by ensuring that the literacy level of Nigeria increase. Otherwise, you just say theory, it will not work.
Now, quite interestingly, is the advocacy for new rights. And before even the election, a lot of persons like myself complain about the enfranchisement. So on election day, typically, I'm saddled with the responsibility to keep the viewers informed from the studio, connecting to different reporters and correspondents across polling units in Nigeria to bring in real-time activities on what that is. So I end up having spent a larger part of my life, having turned 18, since I joined the media, not even casting my vote. There are many persons like myself who are also saddled with security responsibility who do not even vote. So this advocacy for new rights to allow for early voting systems where essential workers, much like myself and others, have the chance to, exercise their civic rights. Do you see this coming to fruition in Nigeria? Do you see us having enabling laws and technological provisions to capture this number of voters who end up not voting owing to their crucial jobs?
In 2027, to me, the answer is no. America, isn't that what they do in the United States of America?
Yes, it's done there.
Look at the system. Look at the instruments. Look at these institutions. They can support that. In Nigeria, try it. It will fail woefully immediately. Because we have not even been able to do a manual one because of issues of deficit in trust, deficit in governance, deficits in institutional capacities. Good idea, but we lack what it takes. Today in Nigeria, If you ask me as a public policy analyst to suggest, I would say, leave that one, no. Let us even count number 1 before we can count number 2, because we lack what it takes. Otherwise, it will still fail. It will fail. Because, okay, can I say 1 plus 100? There are no basis for that. So this one you said, okay, look at America. Look at what they have. Look at the institutions. Look at their checks and balances. Do we have it in Nigeria here? It will fail. To the extent that we want it, it is good. We can't even, glitches. Have you heard of glitches before? Did it not happen in 2023? So if we cannot even do simple real-time transmission of results, you now go talk about this one. No, it will not work in Nigeria today. I don't see it. It will fail.
What year? How many years would it take us to get there?
50 years.
50? It's quite a long time. With the amount of brains and brilliant minds we have?
The brilliant minds are rooted in corruption, ethnicity, mediocrity. Now, you mentioned before, one of the questions you asked was, why are we interested in regionalism? So the tendency of a typical politician in Nigeria is, what can I get from the country? And not what the country can get from us. So everybody is looking for what I can get. So to change that mindset will take another 50 years. Look at America. America was even different on a different pedestal. Now, here in the country, how? Do you know what it takes to change the mindset of people? Because they see Nigeria as, look, I don't want to go into details. I'm here, we're there. So there's a mutual suspicion, whereby whatever you say, I'll say because I'm here, because of. So not looking at the merit of it. And if you do merit, it will not be in line with federal character. Somebody, Professor Ona Adonsuka talked about when we're doing PhD at Adonsuka, said one of the problems of Nigeria is federal character. You must be able to bend. You must keep bending to sustain Nigeria. I don't want to explain more. You must keep bending to the extent. One of my boss in FRSC, Osachuruka, he said that the moment you tamper with merit, you go down. And you must tamper with merit in Nigeria to sustain the country.
Federal character.
So so when will you stop balancing federal character? 50 years is even a modest year. I would have said 100 years. I don't know that will lock me up if I say 100 years.
No. Earlier in your earlier statement, you said you don't want to make allusions or even make speculations. You want to dwell on the facts at hand as we deliberate on the strategies needed for effective election monitoring. Well, at this point on the program, we'll also do our due diligence in taking a look at the reports as filed in by our correspondent in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital, where he monitored the commencement of the second phase of continuous voters registration and the progress so far. Presumably, some of the persons he spoke with were quite pleased with the time taken in terms of machine time to get their PVC registrations done. David Isong filed in this report, and let's take a listen.
With just 13 months to the 2027 general elections, the spotlight is now on the Independent National Electoral Commission to assess its level of preparedness.
How the political parties conducted themselves, they did not conduct.
According to the resident electoral commissioner for Akwa Ibom State, Obo Efanga, the state recorded over 76,000 successful voter registrations between August and December 2025. He further disclosed that an additional 1,600 registrations were captured between January 5th and January 10th, 2026.
For us in Akwa Ibom State, for that first phase of the registration that started in August 2025 and ended in December 2025, we registered more than 76,000. We had 76,000 plus new registrations here in Akwa Ibom. For last week in Akwa Ibom State, we registered more than 1,600 across the state. So people are given an opportunity to do that. And for people who need to make changes, they do that, and it's subject to approval.
Beyond technology innovations, the Commission emphasizes strengthened collaboration with security agencies to ensure safer environment for voters, officials, and electoral materials nationwide.
The BVAS is also used to take a snapshot of the polling unit results. And it is this snapshot of polling unit results that is uploaded to the INEC result viewing portal, IREV. But that aside, what is used for collating the result is the physical result sheet that has been filled at the polling unit. INEC does not own the election. The election is a national project. It belongs to all of Nigerians, and it belongs to Nigeria. And everyone has a role to play. All INEC is doing is to coordinate. And so in coordinating, we'll rely on members of the public who are knowledgeable about what is going on to pass the message to others.
Interactions with registrants at the center show enthusiasm over the seamless registration process, with many expressing confidence in INEC's ability to conduct credible elections.
With the provision of the budget of over $1 trillion that I've just seen that the federal government has budgeted for the INEC, I expect that they should do more. It will be better in terms of manpower, in terms of logistics. Though I've just done my own revalidation of my card and I'm asked to come back in 3 months' time, I think that is one area that I think they should improve upon.
Yeah, I think it's quite swift because I didn't expect to come and leave immediately. I think it's commendable.
As the 2027 general elections draw near, electorates are hopeful that the exercise is going to be free, fair, and credible. From Uyo, David.
Thank you to David Isong filing that report in from Uyo. It brings us back to our discussion, Chief Ben, this morning on the role of the INEC. You listened to the INEC resident electoral commissioner in Akwa Ibom State, Obo Efanga, there, talking about the shared sense of responsibility Nigerians have alongside INEC's responsibility. He talked about the importance of the elections sheet. I know in 2023, the famous incidences of persons taking it upon themselves to announce results, even at collation centers, which were largely hilarious, made a mockery of the whole process. And we saw the court litigations that followed that declaration of results. I don't want to have to mention the state and the individual involved. Noting the statutory role of that sheet and the whole collation that gets us to the point when the data are imputed there and INEC announces the winners of this election. It's also important in terms of the monitoring scope from the polling unit up until that point. How sacred is that document? Because we've seen persons from the academia who we trust so much be involved in mutilating, T-pexing figures. Most times when you see the figures on that sheet, you wonder if it was actually done by such revered individuals or maybe students or pupils of primary schools. What do you make of the sacredness of that sheet and the role of the INEC in ensuring it gets to the final point without such mutilations?
Motivation. Do you know that we are not going to be asking whether the academia or the people who are in the process are knowledgeable enough? They are. The question is the question now is what is motivating them? We mentioned rogue one and the opposite one. So if an INEC staff, ad hoc staff, is wrongly motivated, it leads to all this. If it's rightly motivated, it goes to the right one. Wrongly motivated in terms of his own personal understanding of what is right and wrong. Now, why will you, sir, what does it take to do the right thing? It's even better to do that. It's even easier and better to do the right thing than to be mutilating. So when an INEC, when whoever official, without calling names, goes to election situations, and then he chooses to try to game the system for ulterior motives, this is we've said, we start to showing. So what we're now saying is that there will be a deliberate attempt, or a deliberate effort to insist that these people that are involved play by the rules. Otherwise, the secretary of the document is clear. If there is wrong data, if there is improper data, the whole thing collapses. And then if the people that are the stakeholders, the people who are looking at, if they are not properly motivated, if they didn't motivate themselves, do know that this is civic rights, civic duties. You go there, you try to connive with the wrong people and subvert the system, thereby giving room for loss of more trust, giving room for bad elections, giving room to bad governance and poverty in the country. So it's a chain reaction. The document you asked me about the sacredness, I'm saying it is actually sacred. But to what extent can we hold the people accountable? That's why we're talking about monitoring. In monitoring them, our job is to say that you have done well or you have not done well. In terms of feedback, in monitoring elections is about feedback. Remember, in public policy we have program planning, program implementation, program evaluation and feedback. So at the level of the question you're asking me is at the level of evaluation and feedback. So we are saying at the point this person does the wrong things, we are saying we are getting strong. And we are asking, the idea is to be able to help us to prepare for a better election next time.
Now, in closing, we just have a few minutes, 5 or thereabouts. Let's talk about the role of budgets in ensuring effective election monitoring. To start with, just last week, the news broke one of the record highest appropriations ever allocated to INEC, in which President Bola Ahmed Tinubu allocated 1.01 trillion naira to the INEC in the 2026 appropriation bill. What do you make of this, and would that go anyway in unbundling or solving some of the challenges we just discussed in how much of a role is vested on the electoral umpire in INEC in ensuring a free and fair process?
There are two ways. One, budget allocation, and then budget implementation. We have at University of Nigeria, we had one of the courses we did then at public policies, policies of government budgeting. So that is what the president is trying to do. He's trying to play politics of government budgeting, meaning I'll give you a lot of money, do this. So now it's now incumbent on those who are going to be implementing these things to deploy the resources accordingly or not. So that huge resources can be used positively or negatively. So if they decide to use the trillion naira plus you mentioned to empower this person against this, I'm just trying to use TV word. If they have deployed these resources accordingly, I feel that it would have been better if the EFCC and CPC are part of if they are part of the team. At least there will be some measure of caution. Team that will be implementing and designing implementing the budget. So what I'm trying to say that money you have mentioned will go a long way to help the elections if it is actually deployed.
I like this point you've raised because by law, under Section 3.3 of the Electoral Act of 2022, I just hope I'm correct, because INEC is required to have released these funds at least 1 year before the election. I like the point you raised about budget implementation, but the legal mandate under Section 3.3 of the Electoral Act of 2022 is that the monies be released by the federal government to INEC at least 1 year before the election. And this is 1 year to the election. At what point are we requiring INEC to come back and tell us that this 1.01 trillion naira has been released in terms of the funds required to implement whatever we are describing would bring about the process that would ensure trust on the part of Nigerians?
Every quarter. It must be the actual, if you have studied policies of government budget, you say that you must give at least a quarterly report, a quarterly financial report, so that people can follow. And then that consistent and periodic reporting will help to build trust. The whole thing boils down to resources. If INEC is starved of resources, the whole thing will collapse. But if they have the appropriate resources, it will not collapse. So, but if you have the resources and the people don't know, people cannot track it, people cannot follow you, people cannot know that you can do it, then it is still they're still going to have a lacuna. So every quarter, INEC is supposed to give us a breakdown of what is on ground, what has been spent, and what should be spent. And to be able to have their books open for EFCC scrutiny. So if they scrutinize, if people know that EFCC has scrutinized it, that everything, so you build confidence, you build trust to know that actually don't mind them. Don't let people believe that don't mind this, but they have shared their money among themselves. So if you capture that angle, if you make people to have trust in you, the system will blossom. And if it blossoms, it is to the interest of the Nigeria.
Now, in closing, I'd like us to talk about the prep funds for an election, because interestingly, many Nigerians are not really privy to this information and what has transpired on the floor of the National Assembly. So internationally, we're told that the cost per vote is about $6.7. And in translating it to Nigerian naira, we need about 890 billion naira to conduct our elections. The National Assembly looked at it when it was presented and decided that they would need to revise it upward. INEC's budget should be revised to over 140 billion naira to help us achieve this per vote cost. I know you talk about the political sides of some of this decision, but with our unique terrain and the challenges INEC tells you, logistical challenges in deploying election material to some of these areas, how do you see this monies being judiciously used to improve our voter capture?
It will not be used judiciously. It will not.
Why so, sir?
Because the aspect of government contract system, one, in terms of budget padding, two, it will be a question of rent seeking, and then patronage. Do you know, I'm struggling to use TV sentences. Do you know that to get a job in Nigeria, you have to know this. Isn't that true? Now, to get that budget, will it be open to, will it be subjected to open scrutiny? Will it be subjected to transparency? The level of transparency, there's opacity. That's why they talked about the Freedom of Information Bill. Now, you can it will be opaque. It has to be opaque because that's the nature of Nigeria. Because now they will not know, this man, are you supporting Mr. President? Do you think that they can get a contract for somebody who is not supporting Mr. President? They will not. So it has to be not on merit. The moment it's not on merit, like I told you what my boss said when we were in road safety, Chief Chidoka. He said, at any time in public policy you tamper with merit, it goes down. So the moment we have not known Nigeria, except they said they become born again. The moment you have the system not being open and transparent, because this £1 trillion will be used to issue contracts, issue patronage. So these contracts, who are going to be given the contracts at how much? Something that is 10 naira can be given at 1 million naira. So that authenticity, that sincerity, that transparency, and the probity is not what we have known already in Nigeria. Have we not heard about billions, about money spent, without mentioning names, money budgeted for arms and this and that, for soldiers this and that, and then so billions have gone into accounts? Have you not heard of reluted funds?
All right.
So we have not been able to have trust that I'm not having any indices, any empirical data to say that actually it will be properly judiciously used. Otherwise, if it's not judiciously used, then we are back to the status quo antebellum.
Thank you very much, Chief Ben Ondinjo, for your time on the program this morning. Much like he said, a lot of civic groups are calling for a detailed breakdown of how this monies will be used to better our performance in 2027's elections. But if we to take the words of Professor Joash Amupiton, the testing grounds will be shown in Oshun, Ekiti, and the FCT ahead of 2027, as this year, 2026, does present Nigerians the opportunity to take a look at the strategies for effective election monitoring. My name is Beat O'Brien, thanking you for choosing to be a part of this discussion on ADBN Television. From our Abuja studios, once again, good morning. We'll be saying hi to our sports crew in Uyo, who are on standby to take you through ADBN Sports at 10. Do well to enjoy the rest of your day.
On the go, ADBN is everywhere you are. Stay connected with us across all our social media and streaming platforms for exclusive news updates, captivating stories, and more. Join the ADBN community today via our various platforms. An Avo TV app, ADBN Channel 121, Niger TV app, ADBN TV, Linuxville TV app. To get the latest news straight to your phone, join our WhatsApp TV channel. Just search for ADBN TV and hit the follow button. Turn on your notification to stay updated and never miss any part of the experience. Stay in the conversation with us across social media handles. On X at ADBN TV, Instagram at ADBN TV, Facebook ADBN TV, YouTube ADBN TV. Keep visiting our website on www.adbntv.com. Watch us live anytime, anywhere. ADBN TV, a part of you.
In the heart of Uyo, two young women with big dreams and even bigger egos are about to turn everything upside down. Meet Mfong.
Mfong Eyo Dudu, a.k.a.
the brokest rich babe in Akwa Ibom, and Mena, the worry girl who's convinced she's Uyo's finest. Thrown together by fate, they are living the dream and trying not to kill each other in a city full of hope hustle, and hilarious missteps, they'll learn that sometimes the only way to make it is by sticking together.
But it's so hard not to lose hope. I know.
Akposongudong, when everything's already wrong, what can possibly go right? And with their band of crazy friends and flatmates,
I was joking earlier. I'm your lady. You are the caretaker.
all you get is more spice, more drama, more laughter.
I was just with my brother. yes, I have a new brother.
Lots of brothers doing it. No one.
Get ready for the funniest ride of your life. Akposongudong, where dreams meet reality. What could go wrong? Everything.
So you see, these are our billionaire dreams. You don't go ever die. Tomorrow, we go harder. We go harder.
Akposongudong, showing every Saturday and Sunday, 3 p.m. and 9 p.m.
Only on ADBN TV. Welcome to FCT in Focus, your window to the vibrant heartbeat of Nigeria's capital. We dive deep into the core of the FCT, exploring how key policies and decisions shape lives across the city. From exclusive insights into the FCT administration to voices from the streets, we bring you stories that matter. Catch FCT in Focus every Saturday and Sunday at noon. Tune in for the latest stories directly from the nation's hearts. The global business is never static. Watch the market report on ADBN TV for business information, latest happening, business deals, government economic policies, stock, crude oil and commodity trading, financial upstick and downstick, and the world of organized private sector. The market report showing on ADBN TV, 1 to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday. The market report, bringing you up to speed in the business world.
The overall function of the Parliament is adequate representation of their constituents